Hello, sumo fans, and Happy New Year.
2023, we made it.
It's very exciting to be... By the time you hear this, it will not be New Year's Day, but we are recording on New Year's Day, so this is a celebration.
First day, New Year, lots of potential in our Banzuke. A lot of... You look at this at the beginning of the year, and you're like, at the end of the year, this is going to be completely different. You feel that way. Last year and a few years beforehand, you were sort of just like, he's just pitching to be there.
Status quo,
Status
maybe.
quo almost, but now there's a lot going on, particularly at the top, that you feel like there's going to be something big's going to happen this year in sumo. And
yes.
Like, performance-wise, scandals will just, whatever.
They just always pop up.
They just always pop up. They do their own thing. They don't have a timetable.
No. But yes, it's exciting because, a new year, you can feel the newness, as you're saying, of a new year and a new sumo situation. We're going to see if some of these guys are even still here by the end of the year.
It's good as well as bad. The pendulum does swing both ways on this one.
It does. So let's talk about the first, the man at the top, the first big question mark of the year, and that would be Terunofuji, our only Yokozuna. Did not compete last time because he had double knee surgery. A lot of unknowns. We don't know what fighting shape he's actually in. We know he's not going to be in January. There is talk of maybe him not coming back till May, so skipping March as well. So that gives a lot of these guys opportunity to get their stuff together. But we also must add into the latest scandal and how that might impact Terunofuji, how it certainly sends ripple effect through the entire sumo association, and in ways that we might not even recognize because we don't know all the impact of it yet.
Yeah, it's so the general gist of it, and it's been through the news. If you follow us, you probably follow other sumo news sites. But Isegahama, the big man at the top, has been given a real big finger wag because there's been reports of sumo abuse in his stable, which went unreported. And I feel like that was the big thing. Like if they had somehow, and this, I mean, it wouldn't be much better if he didn't know about it, but it sounds like he knew about it and then didn't do anything about it. And towards your point of the ripple effect, if like Mr. Head Honcho, chief of the rankings committee, and probably one of the more bigger faces of sumo, particularly in terms of, we have a Yokozuna, we've got all these people at the top of the division, we're doing something right.
And he's doing the rankings chart.
And this guy is effectively forced to step down from the rankings committee to save face. So you're like, okay, if this guy is letting this stuff slide,
everybody's letting stuff slide.
That's where we're like, uh-oh.
Well, look at what happened to Takanohana. I mean, my goodness, did that all blow up? And at first it seemed like, there was just going to be a battle with Takanoiwa. And next thing you know, Takanohana leaves the Sumo Association and disappears into the forest somewhere. So I don't know if this chapter is actually closed. And the other thing that makes me slightly nervous, but I don't think it's going to go that far, are they going to start asking what Terunofuji knew?
I feel like those questions are being asked behind closed doors.
Right.
And
they're not going to let that come out. So as much as they're going to go after Isegahama because somebody's got to pay the price, they're not going to let anything happen to Terunofuji because he's the only Yokozuna.
Yeah. So he'll get a talking to maybe, but I feel like that would, if he was going to have any sort of shakiness coming back, and again, he's very, very likely not going to be fighting in January and possibly not even in March, I felt like that would have been one of those contributing factors, and that he has to have it in the back of his mind.
But at least, if he doesn't come back till May, this whole thing has had several months to sort of
blow over. So even if he comes back in March, it'll be more of a ripple reverb than a real big problem.
Right. Luckily, so in some ways, it's good that he got the surgery when he did.
The timing lapsed nicely.
Yeah, because he can just say, hey, I wasn't even in the stable. I was in the hospital recovering. I'm not worrying about this drama as I'm trying to compete after surgery. I've got time.
He's got time.
So take your time,
and
please.
Also, sort of good news for Terunofuji is that the state of the Sanyaku is not as exciting as having a Yokozuna, but is definitely in a more interesting place than it was 6 to 8 months ago.
It's looking a lot less desperate, at least.
A little less, yeah. So I feel like, again, the weird serendipity of he took the surgery because he needed it, but then all these other factors sort of are going to help fill the void. But there's still a void.
Unless you're talking about Ozeki.
If anything, knocking them down only makes the Sanyaku a little more interesting.
Yes.
They're I'll call this a room temperature take, is that cleaning out the Ozekis that are not performing is ultimately good for us.
Right. Sometimes you gotta do a thorough clean before you can really fill the space.
Sorry to fans of Mitakeumi and Shodai, but I'm not looking at the wrestlers, I'm looking at the numbers.
Yep. Unfortunately, sometimes the numbers are the only thing that matters.
The only thing that matters.
You might be some cool guys, but
we'll talk about them when we get there.
Yep.
And I feel like this could be a positive thing for them as well. But for Terunofuji, probably not in January. And we hope that the excitement in other places in the Banzuke will help sort of hold the line until he's able to 15-0 people again.
Well, I definitely think, Abi's win in November got people hyped and excited about sumo again. So we'll get to that, but that's kind of what you're saying. Like, there's some things to concentrate while we're waiting. Speaking of which, we have Takakeisho, the sole remaining Ozeki. This guy's been carrying the load for a long time here. He was 12-3, lost in the playoff to Abi. Now, I'm going to need you to explain it to me.
They need to have an even cut of people on East and West.
Okay.
So, normally what would happen is that we would have this random, hanger on. But in a situation like this, they need to make sure that Terunofuji is counterbalanced by something.
Got it. You can't have it heavy on the east side.
So when there were two Ozeki, you'd have East and West, and that's sort of fine. That's also why when there were 3 Ozeki, it was 2 West instead of 2 East.
Got it. Okay.
Because if there's an odd number up here, then there's going to be a balance. But if there's an even number in the top, the Ozeki Yokozuna, you need to keep the East-West balance. And so
got it.
Takakeisho with a 12-3 record on paper goes from Ozeki 1 East to Ozeki 1 West, when really he's just going to Ozeki 1, the only one.
Right.
But I saw that and I was writing out the rankings. I'm like, did he get a demotion?
Yeah, I saw that too, and I did not understand why it happened. And I'm glad you explained it.
It's a weird Banzuke, and it's aesthetic.
It means nothing at the end of the day.
This makes a little more sense, if we had the physical written out Banzuke, because they have the east column with all the people, and they have the west column with all the people.
Right, you can physically see the need for the balance.
Yes, so that in that case, it's a little more relevant.
Well, so because of his getting into the playoff, having the 12-3, he has what is considered a Yusho equivalent. Therefore, putting him in the position yet again to challenge for Yokozuna. Now, we know that was a complete, absolute disaster 2 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Not only did he not get the Yokozuna position, but he crashed out, injured, Kadoban, all that. It just went to the complete opposite. So I want to throw something out there to the fans of the show. I would love it if we could get into the comment section and discuss. Do you think Takakeisho is Yokozuna material or not? And if you don't think he is, do you think there's any chance he becomes Yokozuna anyway through this war of attrition? And if you think he is Yokozuna material, how do you see this playing out? Do you see him doing it this time around, or is the curse of January going to follow him?
I'm looking at this, so I think that Takakeisho will wear the belt one day if the injuries don't get in the way.
Right, and end his career, basically.
But I'm also thinking that the January curse has been strong.
It's a strong curse.
So I feel like I think he has what it takes, but I don't think he'll get it in January. I think if he gets 8 wins in January, we clean the curse. We're good.
Okay, so you're trying to just scrub the curse now.
I'm looking at this and I'm like, let's just get this hex off our hands.
Right.
That's what I want. Now, again, he gets the cup. I do think that's the distinction, though. If it's another Yusho equivalent, they'll kick it down the road.
Yeah.
But if he hoists the cup, then we talk about it. So that's
right.
So if it's another 12-3 loses in the playoff,
still might not give it to him.
They'll be like, try again next time, but you're still in the mix.
Right.
But if it's a 13, a 14, and it's him holding it, there's where they'll...
I think they will give... If he wins the cup, I think they will give him Yokozuna, and that itself is dicey, because we talk about how hard it is to be Ozeki, but it's even worse to be Yokozuna if you're unsteady. Because if you don't live up to Yokozuna Sumo, you got to retire.
Yeah, that's sort of where it becomes interesting that maybe the Ozeki run may be the best place for Takakeisho.
Right.
And again, this is why I want to wipe the hex. This is why I want him to get that clean run, which may not be possible for him, quite honestly.
Yeah.
But if he can get that longevity, then we're in a good spot.
Well, I think what's best for Takakeisho, if you look at his career and you look at the state of sumo as it is, when you get older, that's when you need to be Yokozuna, because the stakes are not as high. Because if you're a 22-year-old that becomes Yokozuna and you can't do Yokozuna sumo, your career ends early.
It ends early.
If you're 30 years old and you finally make Yokozuna and it doesn't work out, well, then you retire Yokozuna at 31. It's not as big of a deal.
It's the full spectrum.
So he's kind of in the middle. He's like 26, 27 now. So he's starting to head towards the latter part of his career. He's not the young guy anymore, but he's still young enough that it's like, maybe January's too early.
Yeah, but it's possible.
Yes, it is possible.
It is within his grasp.
For many reasons. If there were tons of Yokozuna competition at the top, I would say, I don't know, Takakeisho, but there's guys who can compete with him, but he's still one of the best guys in this current crop of sumo wrestlers. So if you want to compare him to years past, he's probably not in the Yokozuna category.
When you had 4 Yokozunas, you did not...
Yeah, there was no way back. It's sort of like what happens to Hokutofuji. You know, when he was at his strongest, there was 4 Yokozuna. He couldn't crack that Maegashira 1.
There's nowhere to go.
So Takakeisho's kind of in the sweet spot where he's outlasted everybody. They're all retiring, and he's one of the best.
This is the attrition you were mentioning.
Yes, he might become Yokozuna from attrition, but that's not to take away from the fact that he had to put himself in that position. We see how hard it is for guys to even stay in Ozeki.
It's a very slippery position for a lot of people.
Yeah, so I guess we're going to have to see. I mean, obviously, I know that he has limitations if he can't do any belt sumo at all. But, I mean, we need a Yokozuna.
He is also, though, we said this in November, and it clearly did not affect him, with now not only Terunofuji out, but all the other Ozeki out. He's the man.
Right, he is, all the eyes are on him, and I know this because he actually appeared in Sumo Primetime.
That was cool.
No one talks about Takakeisho, and I'm starting to get the sense that it's Takakeisho doesn't talk about Takakeisho. This was the first interview I've seen from him in years. I'm surprised he granted it. And it's very fun. I encourage you to watch it. The dude is just so serious. You know, they're doing the Sumo Primetime. He doesn't even crack a smile. Everybody else is all silly, but he's like, Sumo Primetime. What?
That is
Come at me, bro.
That is his persona. I would agree with your take that it's hard to get a hold of him.
Yeah.
I think that him showing up, if anything, is a show of how good Sumo Primetime is doing.
Yeah.
And how they go over to guys and we're just hanging out, we're talking about cool things, and then Takakeisho's just like, fine, I'll go.
I'll give you like 2 minutes. Don't make me do anything.
Yeah. He had and like his answers were like insightful.
They were.
And then you just go over to Kiribayama, who's grinning like an idiot. It's like,
Have
I love
fun.
watching this show. I'm glad to be here. Foreign people, come hang out with me. And so
let me talk English with you.
I love it when they do that.
Well, even the Abi one, the episode before, like Abi was actually like, he could be a host. He could have a second career as like, you know, introducing the newbies to sumo. But anyway, Takakeisho, super serious. He's focused on Yokozuna, but that interview did show that he's not delusional about it. Mm-hmm. He knows his problems. He knows the hex. He's just trying to get through, and we'll
Trying to
see.
get through.
We'll see what happens. I would love for you guys to comment on your thoughts on Takakeisho. Get some interesting dialogue going. Next, we have Wakatakakage. Sekewake 1 East maintains the same rank. Squeaked it out with 8 and 7. Ozeki run is over again.
Gone again.
He's now in Sanyaku with 7 other contenders, including Wakamotoharu, who's just coming out of nowhere, showing his stuff. Here's the thing. I think everybody's got this in their head. He's getting up there in age. He can't be messing around with this Ozeki run.
No.
Like, it went from, wow, he won the Yusho, let's get this going. And this misstep is a major crushing blow.
He can't keep the momentum, and that's his problem. It's so weird to see how the tides have turned both for and against him over the... Because he got up here, we're like, oh, this is cool. And then he had also the momentum. We're like, this is the guy. This is the moment. Mm-hmm. And then he sort of got there. He sort of didn't. He won the Yusho. He was 11-4, and then he has these 8 and 7. So it's not sticking.
It's not.
And the way that this is now, and I'll get into how crazy this Sanyaku cluster is. It's just like now the winds are blowing against him. It feels, and now you look at other people on the Sekiwake list and the Kamasubi list, and to an extent, and you're like, maybe these are the people that are gonna pass him by.
Yeah, he's going from being like the top contender to about to miss out.
And this is sort of when what I say Takanosho syndrome, because he had the same issue.
Yep.
And that he was, again, when you're this high up, it is so hard to stay at Sekiwake 1 like this guy's doing. And it was the same thing for Takanosho. He's Sekiwake 1 West. He was a career 9 and 6er at the very top. He just couldn't get that extra level.
It's almost like, once again, we're talking about this war of attrition. It's almost like you're hanging on by a thread up there, just waiting for the failure instead of achieving the success. And, you know, that exists in Ozeki as well. It's like, here you are, and you're like, I got to keep going, but I haven't ascended to the next level. So now I'm just waiting for one bad tournament and I'm out. It's
just every time you just hope that you're able to keep your grip strength. So he needs to rebuild. Now, both of the Waka brothers, the pressure seems to slide right off of him. So I feel like the problem here isn't the nerves. It may just be
the winds of fate.
Maybe it's just he's tired. Like he said, he's getting older. Just the competition is figuring him out. But he needs to get that extra little something.
He might need to just bulk up a little bit.
There could be some of that.
And I'm not even saying that's the problem, but just something as small as gaining a little bit of weight could be the difference between some of these on the edge matches. And I don't even know if it's that, but that's like the first thing that comes to mind because he is on the smaller side. And unfortunately, even though he's way more skilled than half the guys on here, that weight matters
a little bit. Now, it is interesting because you do get the trend of people bulking up. You have Kiribayama who's bulking up. You have Hoshoryu bulking up. People are just putting on the power,
and it isn't necessarily translating.
And so it does matter when it's a battle of muscle,
right?
For Wakatakakage, I feel like it would. If it's more like Ishiura, small man weightlifter kind of strength, I feel like that can benefit him a little more than just having a bit more bulk to throw around.
Right.
But he's starting from scratch again, unfortunately.
Mm-hmm.
And so we got to sort of let him figure it out for now and see what happens with the other people in this mess.
Yeah, I mean, as I'm looking at the Sanyaku, it's like, whoa, look at all these Komasubis, look at all these Sekiwakis, this is crazy.
Yeah, so I believe when I was talking about how this would look coming in, that I was expecting them to try to close this gap.
Right.
They don't
like these extra spots.
They tend to want to keep that 4-man Sekiwake Kamasubi balance. But they did the complete opposite. They're like, just throw the gates open.
It's like 8 spots. It's double.
Yeah. So And, like, for some people, it makes sense. Like, Takayasu won the Yusho, so they made the room for him. Shodai's falling down from Ozeki. They made the room for him. And at that point, I feel like they just gave up the ghost. And they just said, hey, Meisei, hey, Wakamotoharu, close enough, come on in.
Right.
And they're just starting a bloodbath. And
like we always talk about, by March, this will be all cleaned up.
Maybe, but this is I think this is like the third Basho that we've had this extended...
These extended slats.
And
it's also compounded by Shodai dropping down.
Yes, so Shodai calling down and prior Mitakeumi falling down did bulk that up a bit by itself. I feel like it will eventually correct itself, but this is also telling of sort of the state of sumo. That a lot of people are good for Sanyaku, but only one person's good for Ozeki.
Yeah.
And that's where I think that is, in my mind, where the rankings committee was like, well, if all these people are Sanyaku material, we might as well make them all Sanyaku.
What's so crazy about it is so many people have tried their hand at Ozeki and just they're done.
Can't.
Last January, Mitakeumi was the man, and now we're a year later, and he's not even in the Sanyaku.
He's not even career Sekiwake.
I mean, how weird is that?
It's the winds of change again. It's just they're
just going. Phew.
Yeah, they just knock you down. So Wakatakakage now has a new issue of, I'll say, 6 other people chapping after his bit. I'll say for Wakamotoharu, there's got to be some sort of a rivalry there, but they're definitely going to be helping each other.
They get to help each other.
Yes,
no matter what, because it's in his brother's best interest to always win, and it's in his brother's best interest to clear the way for his brother. But this does, we'll talk more about it. It does give us the possibility of that brother playoff,
or that brother in Ozeki. I feel like that's much less likely.
Yeah,
but the
Takas, Taka no Hana, it was Taka and Waka. Taka and Waka, they did it.
Yeah, that narrative is now possible, whether or not it's likely.
Right.
It's just fun to think about it for now.
Anything goes now.
Anything goes. Open season.
So, speaking of anything goes, we have Hoshoryu maintain Sekiwake 1 West despite his 11-4 and being in playoff contention to the last couple of days. I guess because Wakatakakage got the 8-7, they still have to keep him there on a technicality.
Yeah.
But boy, it really, in theory, it should swap.
You'd feel like Hoshoryu should be 1 East now.
Yes.
But like if you get a Kachikoshi, you keep your rank.
Right.
That's
just what it is.
Yeah. We'll be talking
unless there's COVID weirdness.
Yeah, well, that's true.
That kind of threw that. But we go back to the old way. No matter what, even though that 8-7 is not an 11-4, you get to keep your spot.
You get to keep your spot. So for Hoshoryu, he's always getting hungrier, and so now you got 11-4. You got double-digit wins in Sanyaku. Mathematically speaking, he would need a Zensho Yusho to be considered for Ozeki ranking.
Okay.
So
I don't know about that.
I don't. I feel like that's beyond him right now. But again, if we're throwing out what is possible on paper,
right?
If Hoshoryu wins out January, they might give it to him.
I'll say this about Hoshoryu. He really had the winning spirit right up until the end. And it just shows you that if he just ascends to the next level, there's one more win. It's 12-3, and now he's in the playoff contention.
Both him and Nishikifuji had the same problem in that the talent's there, the will is there, but they're just not used to it yet.
Exactly. You need more experience being in those situations.
So now Hoshoryu has experience in Yusho contention situations, and you're like, he's like a sponge. He just soaks this up.
Yes.
And so every time he has these missteps, it has been, historically, he recovers from the misstep and then goes forward. Exactly.
So I think if all goes well, we don't know about the winds of fate for anybody.
No.
But if all goes well, this tournament, I expect to see 12-3. Unless he has one of these epic collapses.
If he keeps double-digit wins, everyone's looking at him in March.
Right.
I feel like that's his target. 10-5, 11-4. And now if he gets that cup,
then we're talking about something else.
Maybe we're talking about something else, but The damning thing is that he had an 8-7 in September.
Yep.
That is why, I'm like 15 wins. 14 wins.
Right. It's a red flag because we've been in the Ozeki carousel for so long.
Yeah.
We've had a horrible precedent going on here.
Yeah. Now, by the same token, we are only with one Ozeki, which is why I'm thinking the Zensho Yusho, they just fast track him. But even with a Yusho, I would say if it's 13-2, they're gonna pull him aside and be like, just 10 wins and you got it.
Right.
Don't even stress yourself. But it's very promising. Good to see the consistency as well as the hunger.
It's what we need so much.
Crazy throws, exciting, pulling it together. Hoshoryu is now looking like the front runner for the next Ozeki.
And he is a young guy.
Yeah.
Like all these other guys, they're all approaching 30, and it's like, Hoshoryu's like in their sweet spot for doing something big.
Now, that being said, the person in the front of the pack has been changing constantly.
Yeah, exactly.
This time last year, we were mouting Ichinojo to be the next Ozeki.
Yeah, that ain't happening.
So wait,
Right?
The sumo gods giveth and the sumo gods taketh away. Let us hope they are in a giving mood for Hoshoryu.
Yes, let's hope that it's a giving year in 2023. Because it's been a taking year for...
Oh, boy.
2022 was a take year. So next we have Takayasu, if we're going to talk about just insanity. Takayasu might be the poster boy for this period of sumo. Everything that happens to him just really sums up the state of sumo.
It feels that way.
So he was 12-3, loses his last match, loses in the playoff. He gets injured. He's like the slow walk. It just keeps morphing into laying flat on his face.
The slow montage.
Yeah, you can feel the pain, physical, mental, emotional. You almost want to look away. It's like, I can't handle these car accidents anymore. But Takayasu does not seem like he's willing to give up.
He doesn't. There's no quit in him.
That's why these near misses hurt so much, because it's a man who hasn't given up. So you want to see him actually succeed.
So here's my funny thought. And I was looking at the 12-3, and I'm like, if he puts together another string of Yusho contentions, maybe he will get back to Ozeki without winning the cup.
Oh man, 2-time Ozeki without ever winning a cup. That would be.
Is there a more Takayasu thing?
That's a Takayasu thing.
That is his niche, unfortunately.
He will do everything the unconventional way.
That's my thought of it. I don't want to say anything. I don't want to wish him luck. I don't want to struggle. I don't want to touch it. Like, I feel like it is like it's like when you see a gingerbread house. Topical, and you want to interact with it. You're just like, it'll fall apart if I touch this thing.
Right. Let's just look at it.
I'm just gonna look at it. I'm gonna enjoy it. It's a beautiful thing, and just gonna watch from a safe distance so I don't affect anything.
Don't even breathe on it.
Don't even breathe on it.
Yeah, it's like, give your comments on Takayasu.
Takayasu. He is a sumo wrestler. He performs well statistically. He looks like he's on an upward trend.
Yep, and then run away.
Next question.
Oh, he's falling. He's falling. Oh, God.
Oh, no. Look out behind you. There's something there.
Exactly.
Run away.
So, yeah, I mean, if he didn't have this history, you might actually think that this was a very positive thing. 12-3, almost won the Yusho, clawing ever closer to Ozeki. But we cannot say anything about Takayasu. So, we're going to move on from you. And hope that you tell the story.
Do well.
Anyway, let's move on. So, we're going into this whole Takayasu curse, but the next guy, I think curse is appropriate for him as well, and that would be Shodai, Mr. Sakiwake 2 West, technically Ozekiwake. Is he getting 10 wins? I mean, yeah. This seems like this is over.
So what's interesting is that like Mitakeumi is like making the path that then Shodai will follow.
Right.
So we sort of have this preview of what's going to come. On paper, if he gets 10 wins, he's back at Ozeki.
Right.
the good news is that we only need to wait for him to get 6 losses in the first week to know that's not going to happen.
Right.
I am down on him, but like and this will be the story for Mitakeumi as well. Like once they sort of free themselves of the burden of Ozeki,
we can move on.
Yeah. We can enjoy them for their sumo wrestling, and then they can sort of have that come to Jesus moment that they really get their heads around what's going on. And there is a sort of a, like we said, it's lonely at the top. There are some people that it's just being Ozeki. Maybe
too much.
It's too much. Sometimes you get over promoted at work. Yeah. And then, you're just like, well, we're making you executive director. And about 3 months in, you're like,
I don't want this.
I don't want this.
And I could see that. I could see both Shodai and Mitakeumi. You're supposed to want it.
Yeah, well, that's what's so weird about this is that like you can't just go to the rankings committee and be like, can you just make me Sekiwaka? You can't.
Right. Like
you can't talk to your regional manager about reshuffling your job. You just have to fall on the sword.
Exactly. And that's what I think we're seeing with both of these guys. Like you're in sumo, you fight, you win, and if you fight and you win, you get promoted. And that's what it is. And those two guys just didn't seem like the Ozeki responsibility was really something they wanted.
This is not a disparaging remark to either of them.
I don't know that I'd want to be Ozeki.
Oh God, no. In a way, I'm almost not looking forward to this dying, but I was thinking back, like waxing nostalgically to like the run where Shodai was getting there, and there was like that giddy, happy energy that he had that he has not really had.
Right, he's so sad all the time.
We call him Eeyore because he's always like, oh, I'm so sad. So like now, like once that pressure's off, like once he's back down with the rest of the schmucks,
he can just do sumo.
And then just like, I messed up today, but it's no big deal.
Tomorrow will be better.
Like you can't do that when you're Ozeki. So some of it,
I totally agree with you.
And then the spinning this positive is, maybe Shodai will hit that point. It's like, oh, I think I figured this out. I can give it another try. And then,
well, the nice thing is it's so hard to become Ozeki that I don't think he can luck into it again. And at the end of the day, when you retire, your highest rank is what anybody remembers.
Everybody's just like, he was an Ozeki. So like he's got the high watermark. So maybe that's, towards your point. Maybe he just gets to just have fun for
exactly
3 to 5 years.
He's talented enough that we're not necessarily worried about him going to Juryo anytime soon. He's not injured or anything. So maybe he can start to be himself again when he's free of the burden.
Yes.
Said.
He can get 10 wins and just put it back on.
I know.
It's so weird to be like, I don't want this success.
Well, Shodai is like Takayasu. I mean, they're very kindred spirits in that Takayasu keeps getting so close to winning that Yusho and then failing epically. Shodai keeps winning enough to stay Ozeki.
I know. He just can't shake it.
He can't shake it. And then it's like, but it brings you nothing but misery.
Just stress for everyone.
So I guess we're just going to have to, once again, it's the same as Takayasu. Just look at him.
Just
ignore the record.
Yeah. I feel like an 8-7 would be good for him. I feel like
you don't want him to be like 9-6.
I don't want a 9-6, and I also don't want him to give a Makakoshi. Like I don't want to put bad on him. You know what I mean?
So
get an 8-7, show that you're like, still good, but
not quite there.
Not quite there, and then we're all happy because then we're all it's good anyway.
Yeah, I mean it's hard to talk about this gentleman. It is. So next we have Kiribayama, Komusubi 1 East. He has a nice little promotion with the 8-7. There's nowhere for him to go.
Yep.
He can't make any more small gains because, unless all these guys fall out. He can maintain his sumo and just stay in this spot. That's where he's kind of at.
Yeah. He's so to give him credit, he did get promoted up, and the rankings committee basically made some room for him along the way. But like here, there is no because if Shodai and Takayasu fall out, they're not gonna put him to Sekiwaki 2 East or West. They're just gonna let the Sekiwaki go down.
Right, exactly.
And I feel like I'm confident enough to say that Waka and Hoshoryu will stay in Sekiwake.
It should be that way.
Should be that way. I don't want to get too much into it and throw another hex. But so for Kiribayama, he's in an awkward spot because he has been this small gains for large success over time kind of a guy, And at this point now, he is just wedged in there. There's nowhere for him to go until he does the big jump.
Right.
The big one. And that's the one that Waka's struggling with, and Hoshoryu is just now getting his teeth cut on.
Right. There's not a big precedent for these sort of steady guys to make the big jump.
You need to, we had talked about this a little while back about how like he'll have his 8 wins and like his 8, 8, 8, 8, and then it'll be 9, 9, 9, 9, 9, and then it'll be 10, 10, 10, and then so it's just like once he hit that point, he's just basically just gonna like increment his way into Ozeki.
Right. But once again, the clock is ticking on him too. He's headed in the 30 direction. So I don't know. We might end up with like 4 33-year-old Yokozunas at some point.
Hey, we'll
get like 1 year of Yokozuna.
Yeah. We'll have some bizarre old man Yokozuna sumo.
Yeah, I think we're in for some like really wild stuff.
Yeah, but it is still measured progress. It is still every time we see your Kiribayama, he gets a little better. But now he's going to have a unique issue of he's no longer going to be able to see the success in the Banzuke unless he does something crazy.
Right, like win a Yusho.
Which I feel like that's something he is capable of doing, but it's the odds are real low. He is the underdog.
Yeah, he is the underdog for sure. So, he might have to rely on some failure from others.
A little bit, which...
That's not a great position
Not a great position, but ultimately what will happen is that the failure will only get him a promotion up to Sekiwake.
Right.
And then if he wants that big next step, that's where he needs to dig deep and really show us the...
Find something that...
Find that thing, or just give it, take the eyes off him for 6 to 12 months, and then when he starts posting those double-digit wins, we're like, okay, maybe now...
By the end of 2023, once we're, zooming forward into November, I think we're going to be really shocked. We're not going to be able to predict who is at the top.
There's no way. There is a chance that none of these people will be where they are.
Yeah, there's a chance that all of a sudden, like, Hokuseiho comes up and, like, he's Ozeki or something. I don't know if that's actually statistically possible, but my point is, like... It might be the guys that are coming up that knock all these guys down,
like bowling pins. For some of these people, their stagnation is the wrong word, but perhaps lack of movement.
Yeah,
there's just nowhere to
their
go.
Lack of ability to turn it up is gonna hurt them if somebody has that, because that's a special quality. Hakuho had it. Asashoryu had it. Anybody, Haramafuji, Kakuryu, Kiseno Sato, you have all these guys that had the it factor. Mm-hmm. And we haven't seen any it factor since they all left. So there's got to be somebody coming up that's got the it factor. They're there. So next, similar guy, if you ask me, Kotonowaka. Komusubi 1 West, up from Maegashira 1 West, 9-6. What's interesting is we weren't sure they were going to make room for him.
My original thought was their goal was to shrink the Sanyaku down to as close as we... So I thought it was going to be five people. And then basically Takayasu would fill into Komusubi 2 West, and then Meisei, Wakamotoharu, and Kotonowaka would be SOL. And... that was going to be them. Look, we're trying to fix the mess, but again, they just opened it up, and that was good news for Kotonowaka because getting a 9-6 on 1 East and not getting a promotion
is like a bummer.
It's a bit of a bummer, but he's also now going to have to contend with the Sanyaku curse because this is his first time in a Komusubi rank, and so we had said to Tobizaru maybe he's the man to break the curse, and then the curse set in. Yep. And we had said to Kiribayama when he originally was in Sanyaku, maybe he's the one to break the curse, and the curse set in.
Yep.
So I'm going to say the same thing and be hopeful, but then expect the
curse to kick in.
Expect the curse to kick in. So Kotonowaka he has the puncher's chance. I feel like a good Yusho, and he can keep, but the Sanyaku curse is as strong as it's ever been. So he's got his work cut out for him.
He's such an interesting fighter in that I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, he started off week one pretty weak, and I was thinking to myself, oh boy, we're just not going to get...
He was struggling a little bit.
Yeah, we're not going to get Kotonowaka, and then he ends up with a surprise 9-6. Like, you're just sort of not paying attention to him.
Pulled it out. He's
so unassuming when he should be more of a powerhouse, like, in your mind. He should be in the forefront of your mind, and yet he's unassuming.
There is a calmness to his sumo.
Yes.
That is almost as much of a weapon as his belt work. And I will say that I'm glad that they gave this to him because everybody needs to get the Sanyaku curse out of the way, and then they can get to business. Like that's what happened with Hoshoryu. He got the curse, he shook it, and now he's making eyes at Ozeki.
Right.
So for Kotonowaka, it's like that necessary step that you need to feel the weight of Sanyaku.
You gotta check the boxes off.
You gotta let it pull you down, and then once you check the box off, you're like, okay, now we're good to go.
Exactly. So, we'll have to see. It's not looking good historically, but it would be very nice if we had a surprise this tournament. January is the surprise tournament.
And someone's got to buck this trend.
Yes.
If you go through the documents, the annals of sumo history, somebody's clearly have done it. But recently we need to get somebody to start bucking it.
Well, think about it for a second. So January is the surprise tournament.
Mm-hmm.
It's ripe for it because if Takakeisho wins, he breaks the January curse.
Yes.
He's the highest ranked guy who, in theory, should win, right? But because the precedent is set against him, that would be a surprise if he won. There's no Yokozuna, and every single one of these guys has, given us something and either fallen back down or we haven't seen their next gear. So we should be getting some sort of big surprise this tournament.
Just by looking at all this, it's just like the odds are stacked in such a way that somebody is inevitably going to break a trend.
Yes.
And then it would be weird if nobody does, because then it's going to be this very awkward vibrations of nobody doing anything.
Right, like all these guys just stagnate, and then it's like, oh, Kagayaki wins.
Oh my god,
that would be surprising.
And if we need to clip that in 2 weeks, I'm not gonna know how to feel about it.
It's gonna be kind of a sad recap show if we're just like, everything fell apart.
Well, we finally predicted a U show correctly.
And it wasn't good for us.
No.
It wasn't good for the state of sumo. So, Kotonowaka, we'll see. Meisei, which I also did not expect, as you were saying, that these spots would be available. They have put Meisei back into the Sanyaku. 9-6. What's interesting about Meisei is he's that hard worker, fighter, never give up, when all these other guys are resting on their talent. So every time he gets another shot at Sanyaku, it's like, are you gonna do it this time? Like, are you gonna be the underdog that wins? Kind of like not quite a Tokushoryu, but in a way,
in that kind of element.
Right, where it's like, wow, Meisei out of nowhere. He's always got the chance. But we haven't seen it yet.
But the good news is there's no curse for him because he's been here already. And it does seem that a lot of his struggles over the last few months they were all injury. It was not...
Exactly.
It was not like an Abi mental issue kind of a thing. So for Meisei, it's like, green light, hit the gas. And
exactly.
We know he's going to do that. So there's a potential for him at least... knocking some other people around.
He's definitely plays spoiler every single tournament.
Every time.
Regardless of what rank he's in, regardless of what state he's in, he's always playing spoiler. So when he's in the Sanyaku, he has an opportunity to affect the tournament way more. However, it would be nice if he was affecting it in his favor instead of just hurting other people.
Instead of just throwing a wrench in the works.
Exactly.
He was the works.
He is the dark horse of sumo right now because... He's in the spot to do something, but there's always a question of whether he's good enough. Some people don't even think he belongs in Sanyaku.
Yeah. Well, he carved his way back up this time.
Right. It was not. He's proved it's not a fluke.
Yes, I feel that again. If nothing else, if he gets an 8-7, he falls back out. He's just like, got it again, guys.
Yep.
I got injured. I clawed my way back up.
Did my best.
Did his best.
What can you do? So next we have a surprise as well.
This was the biggest surprise.
This was the biggest surprise. I was not prepared for this. Wakamotoharu up from Maegashira 4 East to this newly created Komusubi 2 West. I don't know the last time I saw Komusubi 2 West, if ever.
There's a lot of Sanyaku.
So 10 and 5, it's interesting. So this is going to be, he's in the cursed position, but in a weird cursed position because it's a spot that doesn't ever usually exist. What do you think the reason is that they promoted him and created this spot for him? Because they essentially... is it because they had to once they did the Komusubi 2 East? Was it just strictly balance?
I feel like if they were going to... They looked at it and they're like, we don't want to... Like, once they started opening it up, I think the decision was made, we're just going to throw it.
Got it.
And what I had mentioned all three of these guys, well, definitely Kotonowaka and Meisei were sort of just going to, they're just going to shrug and say, sorry, there's no room.
Right.
And I feel like, so they did the consideration for these two. They were almost winning the Yusho. They sort of gave it to Takayasu as a moment of the fact that
they
kind of had to. So they're like, well, we've got, we're basically open 3 people and might as well make it 4.
Right.
Now, not to take away from Wakamotoharu, who has had back-to-back 10 and 5 records, which
this is not to take away from him.
So this is now we're looking at this saying he was Megashira 4 East, and so there was a bit of precedent for them shoving him into 1-2. Now this is where it gets complicated.
Well, especially because of all the Maegashiras that
Tobizaru, Daieisho, and Mitakeumi are all coming down from Sanyaku.
Right.
So you would almost have to put him. Actually, and Tamawashi was coming down from Sanyaku. This cluster of 4 people are exiting. So you'd have to put him at 3, which is where Abi's going because he won the Yusho, as high up as you can go.
Right.
So this is where you look at it and you're like, well, maybe you could have put it, but like they would have had to put him here. And then here's Midorifuji, Kachikoshi. So you're not moving him. So now
this was like a complicated math problem to figure out where people were going to go.
This is where you look at a 4 East and you're like, technically he would have gotten a 10 and 5 and then not be promoted because all these other spots are accounted for.
I wonder if Issei Gahama got to do this most recent rankings chart before.
He did before.
He did, okay.
He put the rankings chart out and then shortly afterwards the scandal hit. This is still his
work.
His input.
Part of his work.
Part of his work. So the fact that they gave him this just to sort of reconcile, I feel like this is a surprise to everybody, and there is no expectation on him.
None.
There's nothing. So, like, for Kotonowaka, it's sort of like, prove your stuff, And then you go to Meisei, and you're like, you're back. Let's see if you still got it, You go to Wakamotoharu, and you're like, hi. How you doing?
Let's shake hands.
Yeah, I see you've got a really cool rank there. That's pretty neat of you. You're looking at him, it feels like there's 100% chance of failure. So go nuts.
Exactly.
There is nothing holding him back. There's nothing to prove. There's no expectations. It's just sort of just like, he's the guy. So where Meisei, I would agree, is the dark horse, like, historically, Wakamotoharu is in position to be the dark horse in terms of there's nothing holding him back.
Right.
He can go absolutely wild. And if he fails spectacularly, you're just like, that's fine. Sanyaku curse.
Right.
Not over promoted, but definitely higher than we thought. And I'll just come back. But if he does something,
that's when it gets interesting.
This is where it's a win-win.
Yes.
This is where both of these Kamasubis here, like, all the pressure is on Kamasubi 1.
Yes.
So like, it's like these two people, like, nobody's looking at them.
It's like you're the extras.
They're the extras. They feel like the extras. So both of these guys have the highest chance of
doing something wild.
Doing something. And we said that with Hoshoryu, with Taki, like, everybody in this Sanyaku. This is a crazy.
I was gonna say the Sanyaku is insane.
The answer to there being a volatile situation was to throw a match in.
Yeah,
so this is what we get.
Much.
But if we're gonna look for the dark horse, it's the Kamasubi 2s.
I'll tell you this though, it really it increases the pressure on Takakeisho for sure.
Oh yeah.
Being not only is he the only Ozeki, he's the top guy on the Banzuke. And that's who he's got to face the second week. All these guys.
This is where it also benefits the Kamasubi 2s. All the pressure's going up.
Yes.
It's not going down.
Nope.
the more people you put in Sanyaku, the more you look at the Sekiwakes, the Ozekis, and the Yokozunas, and you're like, you're going to clean this up, right?
It's your job to clean this up.
They're handing Takakeisho the broom. In fact, they're handing him 2 brooms because Terunofuji isn't there, and they're like, you're just going to have to sweep twice as hard.
Exactly. And it's like, and Shodai's gone.
And Shodai's gone.
Yeah, it does kind of seem like the odds are stacked against him. But if you're really the top guy, it shouldn't be.
This is... Welcome to sumo logic.
Exactly. It's like, well, be the top. Just be the guy.
Just be the and
there's no problem.
Just all you have to do is win all your matches. I don't see what the problem is.
Yeah, you're Ozeki. You're the top guy. Who cares if it's January? Who cares if you like your arms are like T-Rex arms? It's cool.
This is where January is gonna be fun.
I know.
We're not even in the lower section.
I really do hope that January is a blast because I felt like November was a blast. Like, I don't want it to be chaos, like, in a frustrating way. I want it to be fun. New Year fun.
New Year fun. Like we said, like, it is more likely that something happens than something doesn't happen.
Right. Something has to happen.
There's too much volatility going on. And we're not even in the rank and file yet.
I know. We're just about to get to Mr. Crazy himself.
Yeah.
So we have Tobizaru, who was one of the guys in the mix with that Komusubi 2 East. 7-8, crushing. I think it was too much for him.
So Sanyaku curse. I'm gonna cut Tobizaru
a major break.
All the slack that we have on the fishing line, because he was first in Sanyaku, made a hell of a case over it. 7-8, scrapped down to the last day. Couldn't get it done, and then 7-8 on paper is what we get out of that. So, and again, like I said, exceptional near miss. Like, he fought his patoot off. He did,
and like I said, when he fought Takakeisho and he took those blows to the head, I mean, I can't help but believe he was fighting the rest of the tournament concussed.
You gotta be able to. So now it's his. Now basically they're like, well, you're out. Now do you want to get back in? And so now
he's knocking on the door.
He's very unenviable, but at the same time, perfect position if you want to keep going back up of 1 East.
Yeah, and we'll have to see. You know, this was a good as you're talking about experiences. This was a good experience for him. Now he knows how tough it is up at the top, and I'm gonna compare this. I'll get back to this person when we get there, but Oho had given an interview, and they asked him like, what's the biggest difference between Juryo and the top division? And he said, how much more aggressive the Tachiai is.
It's much harder.
I feel like that you can say that even in the ranking system. Like, the difference between the Maegashira men and that crazy Sanyaku is enough to really surprise somebody when they first get there.
It's another notch. And it's weird because then the jump from Sanyaku to Ozeki, like, that's 3 notches.
Yep.
So these are already, every notch we're putting on there is like, it's a factor of increase that people are not ready for. And then we just keep writing them on. So that is going to be Tobizaru's struggle. I feel like he's up for it, but I don't know if he's going to get it. That's the mystery. That's the intrigue. It's just like, I can see him going back in.
Right.
But
can he?
Yeah. And just like, now we're like, I gotta watch now.
Yeah.
I gotta watch.
It sounds like, it's very exciting to see what he's going to do. I mean, he's one of the guys with a lot of techniques, a lot of surprise moves that you're like, oh, I didn't see that coming. A lot of speed. He's an exciting fighter to watch, and he's right there. He's knocking on the door. He was there. He got thrown out, but he's like still there, and it's like, you just opened that door a crack, and he's back in.
He's back in. He's gonna bust through.
So I hope he learned a lot from the last tournament. Like, just he got the experience of that, just a little bit, up a notch intensity. That he's gonna make some adjustments, and he's gonna do better this time. But we'll see.
That's his work cut out for him.
He does have his work cut out for him, and his sort of partner in crime, we could say, is Daieisho, Maegashira 1 West. He lost, same thing, 7-8, down from Komusubi 2 West. These guys like came down together Difference is Daieisho's been here back and forth. He knows the grind.
I love it when the East and West on a ranking are so similar, but they're like two sides of the same coin. It's like you said.
Yep.
So like both had the exact same situation, and now they have the exact same challenge that they were in Sanyaku, got the 7 and 8, lost on the last day, got knocked down, not for a lack of trying, not for a lack of talent, just couldn't get it done. And now Daieisho needs to find a spot in this 8-slot Sanyaku if he wants to get back in.
Right.
And so the difference is where for Tobizaru this is fresh. For Daieisho, this is something he's been through before. So now we're gonna look at both of them side by side when we get back together in a couple of weeks, 3 weeks, and we'll be like, okay, who made it? Who didn't? Who had what it took?
Right.
Did they do anything different? Did they fight any harder? Did they just keep doing what they're doing? I am fascinating by this comparison on the Megashira one step.
Yes. And especially like Tobizaru, he's sort of the fresh man, you know? Whereas Daieisho is like battle tested.
Hard, old hand.
But at the same time, it's like he's got to be picking up like injury after injury.
And this is where the momentum is. Like you look at Tobizaru and he's untested, but I think he can be there. Then you go to Daieisho and you're like, he's proven he can be there, but I don't know if he can do it.
Right.
It's the same thing just flipped on itself.
Exactly.
And I just this is
you just love the symmetry.
The symmetry. I'm a sucker for a good cut down the middle.
Which just to go off on a slight tangent, because for whatever reason it's making me think of it. I was watching on YouTube Japanese speed gift wrapping.
Speed gift wrapping?
Yes, this is a thing in Japan. And it's amazing to watch. I encourage it. But it was just the cleanness of how they fold this paper that I'm like, I could watch this all day. It just reminds me of what you're saying about the sort of the cleanness of the two of them coming down.
Are they judged on cleanliness? Like it has to be of a certain caliber, or is it just get as many gift wraps?
Oh, no. It has to be perfect. In fact, the speed wrapping they were doing, they didn't use one piece of tape.
What?
They used a ribbon. And you watch this person wrap something in 16 seconds, and it's perfect.
My God.
You have to watch this video. It's crazy.
You give me 16 minutes, and it's an unholy mess.
Oh, man. I could have tons of time, and I can't cut in a straight line. The tape is, stuck on the backside.
I've spent so much time watching other people do present, and I'm trying to document what they do, and then when it comes for me to do it, I'm just...
The brain and the hands just don't work together.
It's like somebody replaces my hands with sausages. I'm like, I can't coordinate this.
I can't hold these scissors.
Hold it.
There might be a sumo comparison in there.
There may be. I feel it. I feel the energy.
Maybe Tobizaru and Daieisho can visualize, but when it comes to doing it, their hands turn to sausage.
No, their hands turn to sausage.
Just a little fun holiday quip there. So next, we have Mitakeumi. He not only did not reclaim, Ozeki, but he got a 6 and 9. It's the complete collapse. It's no doubt about it. We're out of this Ozeki thing. He'd have to go on a run again, but he can't even start a run.
Can't even start the run.
It's just a complete year later, and it's
all gone.
All gone. Like, he was career Sanyaku, and now he's not even Sanyaku. So what do you think is next for his future?
Clean slate. He can do whatever he wants. It's like he's just come out of the backyard when he just buried the family dog. So he is good to go. And there's nowhere for him. Like, he can do anything.
Right. He could just chill.
He can just chill. He can just get back to it if he wants. He can just sort of just half-ass it this turn. Like, no, wait, there is nothing he can do that will be upsetting or disappointing.
He hasn't been this low in years.
It's been a while, yeah. Like you said, he was career Sanyaku and 3 Yusho.
Yeah, which not a lot of guys, even in the upper level, with the exception of Terunofuji, can say.
I feel like he just needs a breather.
Yeah.
And look, for somebody like Mitakeumi, okay, Mitakeumi, today you're going to have to fight Myogiryu.
Right.
Can you get it together for today? I think he can get it together for the day.
It is a little bit contingent on, is there a serious injury, or was he just dogging it a little bit because of
So the injury had to have been there on some extent.
Right. But it's like, how severe is the injury?
But that's a mental.
I'm assuming it was mental. It just seemed that way.
Just January, just you know.
He's going to win the Yusho now.
Probably, but.
That's what he does.
Yeah.
He'll just tack on a fourth Yusho.
Fourth Yusho. Yeah, the prime. So it'll either be the Yusho or like a very casual 8-7.
Yeah, that's what it's like when dealing with him.
Yeah. So, which is that's always the way it is for him. And so honestly, just Mitakeumi is keep doing it.
Right.
Keep doing it. Who cares?
Do your brand of sumo.
Do your brand of sumo. We'll talk to you in March and see how you feel.
Yeah. I'm not even gonna make any predictions for him.
Just go out there, have fun.
Just to hang out.
You know, like this is the positive. You're just sort of. You know,
the pressure's gone.
Pressure's gone. Just go out. Just be sure to show up on time.
Yeah.
For their matches, and then the rest is fine.
Exactly. And so we have also Tamawashi, another guy who crashes out of the Sanyaku, 6-9. The excitement of being the champion is over, but he is still a dangerous man.
Yeah. This is another interesting comparison because they again. Exact same rank, exact same knockdown, and the exact same. The pressure's off now.
Right.
So for Mitakeumi, it's sort of just like, you know, do whatever thing. We go for Tamawashi, you're just like, guys, there's no pressure on Tamawashi anymore. Look out.
Exactly, and you know you can't underestimate. He's the oldest man in the top division right now. He had to go do all those parades, all those interviews.
Yes.
You can't train as much when you have to do all of that. You're always injured, and you require more sleep as you get older. I mean, he's vastly older than most of the guys who are making, you know, splashes. So I'm sure he was just tired. I don't necessarily think it was Tamawashi's losing his edge.
No,
so now he gets a nice little rest.
That's the thing. He's not lost the edge. He's not lost anything. The wins that he got, he was still just folding people in half.
Right. There was no like dogging it with him. I mean, you see, he's he gets tossed out and he's just like, oh man. So he just needs a little more sleep.
This is a dangerous, well-rested Tamawashi.
Exactly.
So everybody and can you imagine him looking up at some of these people? You're just like, what the hell's Wakamotoharu doing there?
Right. That's my spot.
That's my spot. You know, you go to Shodai. We're like, I'm just gonna keep farming him.
Yeah, he's been making him pay for a while now.
And he's got to be torn up that he's not able to get Kimboshi for a little while.
Yeah.
So he's got to take out that aggression on someone.
Exactly.
Bad news for anybody fighting Tamawashi.
Exactly. He's like, I was making bank.
Yeah.
Come on, man.
He's just like another no-earner Basho. I'm just going to take my frustration out on someone.
You know, Takakeisho, do you think he can get promoted just so I can make some more money? I don't really care about you, but I care about me making some money.
I want a bigger paycheck. Get promoted, please.
Exactly. Will somebody please take the spot?
Oh, God.
I will bury all of you.
Oh, man. That's what everybody has to worry about.
Yeah, it's true.
Looking forward to it so much.
I am too. Like, I can't wait to see who performs better than we expect, and even those who perform exactly as we expect. I never look forward to the people who fall out.
The slumps. No slumps.
No slumps. Just everybody doing their best, you know? Speaking of which, we have our champion. It's very strange to see the champion in the Maegashira 3 East spot, but Abi was in the Maegashira 9 West spot. 12-3. Here's a great example of somebody we were sleeping on because of how this whole thing works. He was propelling himself for an Ozeki run. Everybody was talking about him, and then he just falls apart.
He buckles. He can't handle it. So where this becomes interesting is we had written him off not because of that, but because he was injured.
Exactly.
And the historical trend is you're going to need a few tournaments to get back on your feet if you get back on your feet.
And as he was fighting, I don't think he was 100%.
Probably not. Now, it did help that he was thrashing some people that he didn't really have trouble with.
True.
That being said, there was no taking away the last 5 days from him.
Exactly. Like, that's where it counts.
That's where it counted, and he brought it. So he's got the fire, he's got the talent, and he had the power and towards what you were mentioning earlier with Oho, like, they keep mentioning that by the second week you're all banged up.
Yeah.
He just powered through all of that.
Exactly. And that speaks volumes, especially he won, 3 matches in a row in the last day?
Yeah.
Look, that's some endurance.
That is some crazy.
He won 3 in a row. There was no, loss and then have to come back and, because the way the playoff works is it's the first guy to 2.
First guy to 2.
So if he had lost one, he still would have been in the contention. No, he just took care of business 3 in a row on the last day with elbows that are not 100%.
Yeah. So I will say that whether or not the Sanyaku nerves are fixed, that's still an open question for Abi. That may come into play here. Now that the spotlight's on the new Yusho winner. There's always that target on your back when you come back with that trophy.
There is, but he's Maegashira 3 East.
This is where it's weird.
Because he's still not going to have the top competition in the first week.
It's like the pressure's on, but it's not.
Exactly.
At the same time.
He's kind of in the sweet spot.
It's a paradox going on right now. Because you look at him, you're like, okay, he's the Yusho winner, he's 12-3, and he's really high up the Banzuke, and you have this crazy Sanyaku, so he's going to have the nerves issue. And then you look at him, you're like, well, he's at 3 East. Everybody's talking about Ozeki, which means nobody's paying attention to him.
Exactly.
What is it? What is it? Is everybody looking at him? Is nobody looking at him?
Right. He's sort of like sucked into the void or something.
The void. So like from the void, there is every opportunity for him and none at the same time.
Exactly. Like there's pressure, but there's not. Now, with that said, there's all these videos of him, he goes back home and he's getting swarmed at the mall. And he's doing the parades, and so he is going to be fatigued.
He's gonna have the Tamawashi fatigue a little bit.
Yeah, he is younger and supposedly in better shape, and he's on Sumo Prime Time.
All right.
So I mean, the guy's pretty busy, but maybe he's different. Maybe he has the endurance. He's got age on his side, and maybe he's just in a little bit better shape than some of these other guys, and will be fine.
Yep, it'll be. So this is the. In a way, it's the start of his return to the top, but at the same time, there's still no pressure at all.
Exactly.
It's so weird. I'm just gonna watch and see what happens, and then try to make sense of it.
Yeah, I think we're gonna be scratching our head a lot.
Not sure.
Yeah. So we're gonna put a big question mark next to Abi's name. Next, we have Midorifuji, who maintains his rank with an 8-7.
So
yeah.
This is what happened with Wakatakakage, that the 8-7 they held the rank.
Yeah.
And you couldn't demote him, you couldn't move him. That's sort of what happened with Midorifuji, is that there's nowhere for him to go. And
his record wasn't good enough to justify leaping him over somebody.
So he gets a Kachikoshi hold, and that basically the 8-7 means he just doesn't get knocked out of the way.
Exactly.
Which is a weird sensation. And the fact that this is Midorifuji from Segahama means that this is such a weird, complex issue.
Yes.
That he couldn't get the, make him, they couldn't
justify it.
Yeah, they're like, we can't, can we make Abi 3 West so I can put my boy up? And they're like, no, there's no space. You're putting him all the way up. So
exactly.
It feels like it's a bit of a downer for Midorifuji to get a winning record this far down
and have to stay
there. So the we have found where the logjam is, and it's at 3 West.
The thing is, though, it could motivate him. We always talk about this. Some bad things motivate people.
Yeah.
A lot of guys, unfortunately, it doesn't motivate them. But Midorifuji, perhaps this is motivation to kick into the next gear. Like, I want to crush through into the Sanyaku, which means I got to work so much harder.
So beforehand, he got the reported over promotion with that 10-5 all the way back. Yep. And then later on, they sort of peeled it back a little bit. And that's the give and take from the Banzuke community. So now this time they're taking and then likely poised to give. Mm-hmm. So they're not giving him that promotion because there's really no room for them. But what they're probably saying is,
do better next time.
Give us a 9-6, give us a 10-5, and then we will be in a position to pole vault you. Now, not being said, the rankings committee is going to be different.
Exactly.
So maybe he's not going to have that much pull. I would like to think that, at least for the rankings committee, like there's so much weird math going on that it's not as much wiggle room in terms of trying to get all the pieces together. It's hard to really favor things. But anyway, the gauntlet has been thrown for him one way or the other, no matter how it got sliced.
This is the part where I had talked about in the top of the show where we really aren't going to know the effect of Isegahama leaving right away because we don't know what those behind-the-scenes conversations look like. We might start to see rankings charts that look very unfamiliar to what we've been used to after this tournament. And in particular, it's going to affect people in his stable, at least I don't know if they're sitting around stressing it. However, there's got to be a lot of stress in the stable right now.
Yeah.
So Midorifuji's got a little bit of some baggage to take into this tournament.
All of the Fujis.
And the Fujis are either going to put up or shut up.
Uh-huh.
Like either I really want to show how great my master is and how great my stable is. I don't want this scandal to mar us, or I can't handle the pressure of people looking at me and thinking negatively of us.
Yeah, that's going to be the added level.
I just have to say, how crazy is this whole thing, right? We were just talking in November about how great the Fujis, how great the Isegahama stable was doing, and just like that, it all falls apart.
Down. Now, this is, towards your point, this is their chance to prove in the dohyo that things are still okay.
Yes.
And this will be the X factor. It will motivate some. It will demotivate others.
Mm-hmm.
And so when we look at this, if we were like, what happened here? That could be a thing.
Yeah.
Could be a part of it.
We're gonna have to wait and find out. So next we have Nishikifuji in the same boat in terms of the stress of this all. He gets a slight promotion with his 9 and 6. So this does show you the logjam as well. Because if Midorifuji can move up, then Nishikifuji might have gotten a little bit higher with a 9 and 6, but instead he just gets at least from 5 West to 4 East is decent.
Yes.
But I do think he could have actually been promoted a little higher if there wasn't the logjam.
In other tournaments, he would have been promoted higher, I feel.
So he started off like, wow.
So I had mentioned this before with Hoshoryu, that both of those guys were in contention. They were in the race, and then nerves knocked them out of it.
Right.
So he's gotten that on him, and he has not hit a Makakoshi yet in the top division.
Really? I didn't realize that.
He's not been here long.
That's true.
So we have yet to see his ceiling. True. And this is the exciting part for him, because we're talking about we need those rising stars. We need those people to start climbing up. From here upwards, it's a crawl. It's that uptick we were mentioning. Yep. It's the
steeper part of the mountain.
It's the 5 to 1, that the colloquial meat grinder. Mm-hmm. This is where, and he was at 5 West, like he was like right on the cusp of it before, but now he's in it. Yeah. And again, now he's in it with former Ozeki, former Sanyaku, current Sanyaku, Yusho winner. Mm-hmm. So everybody above him are not going to let him do this.
No, he's going to have to fight.
He's going to make them. And so for me, if Nishikifuji comes out of this with a Kachikoshi, we've got a real person. Call the presses. This one's the legit. Yeah. And I feel like I don't know where he stops. I don't know where this train gets off. What's going to stop him? Because he only gets better. And he just keeps winning, and he almost got the cut.
I know. If he didn't just, the immense pressure when you are doing that well could take down anybody.
Who hasn't had it before.
Exactly.
But now he's had it, so
now he can build.
There is a lot of momentum hitting him right now. And so, again, this is where January is going to be interesting, because this could be his chance to carve himself apart from all the other newcomers, or this is where everybody else sort of lets him know how things work around here.
Like the whole house of cards falls on top of him.
Yeah. And then we add in the X factor of the Isegahama scandal on top of all.
Right. Every time there's a scandal, it stresses the whole thing. We gotta stop with the scandals already.
So Nishikifuji right now is like the locus of the specific, who's the new rising star. Not the person who goes up and down, but the guy who goes up and keeps going up.
Right. We're still waiting for that guy. We're still
waiting for that guy. Nishikifuji, this is his chance to say, stop waiting.
Exactly. So we will see if he is up for that challenge. It's going to make doing fantasy sumo impossible. Oh, God. I actually did the best I've ever done last tournament, but it was because everybody was a question mark. Now it's like I see what some people can do, and the question is, can they maintain that, or are they just going to fall apart?
Or are they going to fall apart?
And Nishikifuji was somebody that I had in my sights. So I don't know who I'm going to pick this time. Gee. But anyway, now we have Sadanoumi, Maegashira 4 West, maintains the same rank with another 8 and 7. There's this sort of, man, haves and have-nots in this tournament.
There
All
is.
these 8 and 7s, man. He has nowhere to go.
He's in the same boat as Midorifuji. They have the same story that they got an 8 and 7, but there's nowhere to put him.
Exactly.
But for Sadanoumi, when we had mentioned his performance at the end of November, we said, I think this is the perfect rank for him.
Yes.
So he kept his rank.
He just kept the perfect rank.
Good news for Sadanoumi. He has the exact thing he needs. He doesn't need to be higher. He doesn't need to be lower.
Right, and he's not, like, looking for the cup.
No.
He's not, like, he has different goals, I would assume. Now, that's not to say he wouldn't do it, like, but he has no expectation of the cup.
He was one of the veteran dark horses a little while back. He had that 11-4.
Yeah,
he made a run at it.
Yeah, he did
put
make
some
a run.
dirt on people, made some, hurt some feelings. I loved it.
But there's no pressure on him, so keeping the rank is a beautiful thing for him.
A beautiful thing. This is exactly where he needs to be. He's proven he earns the rank. There is no reason to believe he's not going to throw people around again. Mm-hmm. And so, like, for Sadano, it's again the interesting dynamic for Midorifuji. It's almost like it's the gauntlet thrown.
Right.
It's the prove it you're better to go higher. But for Sadanoumi, we're just like, we good? You good?
Everything's good.
Why change anything?
Right. No pressure. Just do your thing.
Go out there. So it's almost I'm looking at that for Sadanoumi. I'm like, perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect.
You got nothing bad to say about that.
Nothing.
So now we have Ryuden up from Maegashira 6 West, Maegashira 5 East. Another guy that, with his 9 and 6, he probably would have went a little bit higher
in another tournament.
Ryuden is an interesting case.
He
went from being like, after Shoboshi's death, he's fallen apart. He's doing the weird jockey tachi. He just keeps going lower and lower and lower. Then he gets a scandal, gets suspended. It seemed like Ryuden's life was falling apart.
It looked like we're like, well, nice seeing you, Ryuden.
And it was actually hard to get a grasp on what kind of an actual sumo wrestler he was. And now here he is, got the scandal out of the way, worked his way back up, and he looks pretty good.
Looks good. Feels like better than ever.
Yes.
In a way.
Yeah, like better than old Ryuden.
Like he's got his second wind. And he has bear traps for hands. It's just terrifying.
I know. He's just going to grab you by the throat.
Yeah.
And
so I looked it up. He had this is pre-pandemic, pre-Shobushi death. He was following a similar path to someone like Tamawashi. Like he touched Sanyaku and he fell down a little bit, and we're like, oh, maybe he's going to go a little higher. And then the fade began. Then Shobushi died. Then things fell apart. So his career high is Kamasubi, and I'm looking at him, I'm like, if he touches that goalpost again, that is very telling for how he has transformed this deep personal loss, the scandal, all the negativity, how he's just purged it.
It is nice to see somebody overcoming.
Because
we have a lot of stories of people who are just can't hack it or just it's too much. It's nice to see when somebody overcomes the big demons in their life.
Yes, and what the causes of his scandal notwithstanding, we're not gonna dwell on that.
Right.
Everybody can pull themselves back together.
Yes.
But in any case, Ryuden looks like he's there, and I'm looking to him. I'm like, your goal, touch Kamasubi again.
Right.
And I feel like he can do that.
He can, which makes the whole Sanyaku even crazier.
But now I feel like this is a year goal rather than a Basho goal.
Yes.
Particularly, like he would have to basically win the tournament in order to get into Sanyaku from where he is now. But
I expect like more 9 and 6.
Yeah. I'm looking at Ryuden. I'm looking at the big picture, which is very weird because you don't do that in sumo normally. But I'm also feeling optimistic.
Yeah, I mean he's giving you a reason to feel optimistic. Yeah. So next we have Nishikigi, Maegashira 5 West, up from Maegashira 6 East, 8 and 7. He spent some time in Juryo. Looks like he's gonna stay.
That's for me. I feel like this tournament is where I'm like, he's back.
Yeah.
There was he made his surge. I didn't know if he was gonna surge and crash, and it looked like he had his sumo together. So he definitely had the talent. He had the fun factor. But from now, I felt the longevity's there. I felt like, okay, Now, like, we have Nishikigi, we're going to keep him.
Yeah.
And new year, new Nishikigi, maybe he's still got more tricks up his sleeve. Maybe there's something else he hasn't shown us.
Right.
So now, like, my mind is shifting from, what's he going to do? What's going on? How high is he going to go? Is he going to fall apart too? He's a mainstay now.
Right. Like, you can count on seeing him.
Count on seeing him. Whatever issues he had to deal with, it felt like they've been dealt with.
Yeah. You're just closing that chapter and moving on. So, he's getting the band back together. He's, he's got a similar vibe to Ryuden, too. There's a nice... They're all coming in pairs this time.
I love it. Yeah. So they both have this like veteran feel-good kind of a story in that you don't expect the world out of them, but you think what they will give you, you will like.
Exactly. And you can root for them and you can feel positive about, not only their career, but also the state of sumo, because you need those middle guys to challenge the lower guys, and you need the middle guys to keep the higher guys in check. Exactly. So next we have your man, Hokutofuji, Maegashira 6 East, down from Maegashira 5 East, 7 and 8. He's just, such a slow decline.
Yeah. So, interesting, beforehand we were talking about the Isegahama scandal, and we mentioned that everybody in that stable, they now have something to prove. Now they're going to have that pressure on them, and they're either going to rise above it or they're going to crumble to it. Mm-hmm. And either you or I had said all those Fujis have something to prove. I was about to say, with the exception of Hokutofuji, it's the exact same thing for him, though.
Yeah.
It's the exact... Now, didn't have a scandal to throw the weight on him, but for him, it is now put up or shut up.
Right. He's running out of...
I was going at, like, the fanboy coping, trying to explain away this decline, like, was in full sprint.
Oh, it was.
And I was just like, okay, there's got to be a reason to figure this out. And I was just like, oh, maybe all the, Nishikifuji, it's just this new up-and-comers are coming out. And then I'm looking up and I'm like, Nishikigi, Sadanoumi.
Yeah.
Abi just dusted him. I'm like, okay, so new people are passing by him. Old people are passing by him. I'm like, there's no talking your way out of this.
Right. It's like he's just getting left in the dust.
I'm just like, oh.
It is.
Oh, I have to go get a drink. But so like this is where he is. I gotta be real. I can't be soft on my guy.
I know, it's sad though.
So that my question is, what does he need to do to turn this around? And can he? Like, is it in the cards?
That's really the big question is he physically capable? We don't know exactly what he's dealing with, but I'll say he has one of the rougher styles in sumo. So for years, he goes head first at every tachi. It's like how many cracks are in that skull?
How many headbutts are left in him?
Exactly.
And
so he's sort of, it's like an Ikioi situation.
Yeah.
He's sort of leaving it all out there, and eventually the reserves just drop out.
Drop out. This is the soul searching I need to do, whether or not there's something he can do, and he's clearly that's what he's been trying to work on.
Well, he briefly had the stint with doing belt sumo, and then he sort of like
fell out of that.
Yeah, dropped that.
And off. It feels like it's more of a plan B these days, or like there are specific people that he's just like, I'm good enough with belt sumo to throw them off the game.
I think, it's hard when you get to a certain point in your sumo career to make changes, but it would be good for him if he does have the belt techniques to keep his career going.
He does.
He's too rough.
He needs to extend it. He needs something different. I can't just wave it away anymore. I gotta stare at the truth and just let it pierce me.
It might even be sadder that you're coming to the realization. I enjoyed your fanboying and your, just state of naivete that you wanted to stay there.
I wanted to stay there. I had that 9-0. I had the actual maybe Zenshu Yusho.
He did put you in that position.
I was there. So this is the 2023 for me, and me, and the sumo gods need to have some sort of a bargain struck, and I'm not sure how that's gonna work. So jury's out on how I can figure that out.
Yeah, you might just
calls.
Yeah, make some calls, will you?
Make some calls. Light some incense, do some praying.
Exactly. Well, with Hokutofuji, great example of maybe the new year does something for him.
New year, new him. We need that.
Yeah. At least it was only a 7 and 8.
Yeah.
We've been worried.
It's not a worrying fade, but he needs a different number.
He needs a different number. Next, we have Myogiryu, Maegashira 6 West, up from Maegashira 7 West, 8 and 7. 3 consecutive Kachikoshis after we thought he was about to retire.
We were like, uh-oh. Put him on the watch.
Yeah, he was on the watch list. He's actively off of the watch list. Putting together numbers enough to keep going.
To keep just extending the leash. So this is always, there's like the veteran sweet spot, as we always say, and I feel like the 6 is getting a little higher on it. No, this is Myogiryu, though. He has those sparks. He has those moments. So I'm not going to discount him. It's sort of like if you're an odds guy and you look at the odds and you're going to Myogiryu, like these odds are looking a little long for you, buddy. Mm-hmm. Can you overcome the odds?
And he's been finding a way
He finds a way. He does. He figures it out, or sometimes he doesn't, and he makes a good show of it.
This is that Saitama Sakai spirit.
Yes.
That's all this is. It's the pure, I am the elite.
He does. Well, and he's always been that guy who's trying to always have the young mindset. He's always trying to keep himself engaged and eager, and that's part of what makes him so fun to watch.
Exactly. Once again, don't call me a veteran. I'm never letting that one go. Yeah, if he can keep up with the 8 and 7s, eventually he's going to have Takanoshin syndrome where the 8 and 7s are going to put him in a spot that's too high.
A little too high.
But for now, I think he's still safe.
Just barely.
Just barely. Yeah. I mean, they could go either way. It could be another 8 and 7, or it could be a 5 and 10. Or
yeah, I'm not worried either way. But I'm looking at Myogiryu climbing up a little bit, and I'm like, getting a little antsy in the pantsy.
A little bit. So now, unfortunately, we have to talk about another scandal. We need a scandal counter. We go from no scandal to 2 right off the bat.
Right on top of each other. Now, this one was sort of a slow burn.
Because we knew
something was going to happen. We knew that the resolution was going to wait until after the tournament was done. And so the news had broke during the tournament of their allegations of drinking issues and some domestic violence. And I can't help but feel that so much of this is pushed under the rug. And we're just we're not going to talk about it. What we're going to do is we're going to find this unrelated or tangentially related COVID protocol violation from 2 years ago. And we're going to give him a slap on the wrist instead of dealing with this properly.
There's a lot of issues with how they're dealing with this. First of all, I think there was a leak of the information because there was an allegation that he hit his stable master's wife on accident, but she did not want to pursue anything on it. And like you said, it was even the physical incident was 2 years ago. The COVID thing is a more recent thing than this drunken incident. So somebody leaked something to the press, and now they had to deal with it. And I don't like that they use the COVID violation because it cheapens the things that have happened to other guys.
Yeah.
Because it also means everybody was violating the COVID protocol.
Yeah. Well, it's sort of there's a lot of stuff that didn't get caught. And then they made the point that Ichinojo came clean with it, and he was cooperative, and he copped to all of it.
Right, but it's how many other guys? It's almost like they're holding this over these guys. Stay in line, or we're gonna suddenly remember when we saw you out.
Some weird thing. For me, this does smack of a plea bargain.
It's a plea bargain,
and that they're we have you charged for battery, but you can plead guilty to reckless endangerment and we'll give you a lesser sentence.
Exactly. That is exactly what this is.
So I'm looking at this. I'm like, guys, we shouldn't. What are we doing? And so then nobody looks good. It all feels
pretty
weird.
Much.
And for the immediate future, he's not fighting in January. And now because this is a benching, he's going to fall all the way down if they don't kick him out completely.
Yeah, I'm looking at it right now. He's going to be at Maegashira 7 East, so he's going to go 0-15.
That'll put him at the bottom.
Yeah, I'm guessing they're going to put him at Maegashira 16.
I feel like because he's playing along and he's sort of taking it on the chin, and like you said, there's a weird leak. It wasn't the circumstances of the scandal coming to pass and the way it's resolved. Nothing feels good. Yeah. I think they're just going to put him at the bottom of the Banzuke in March, and then they're let's pretend this never happened.
Exactly.
I feel like if there was something that was not to the favor of the sumo, that they would put him in Juryo. And for
either
me,
they put him in Juryo or they just kick him out.
Maybe. I feel like for me, it's just like if the Sumo Association doesn't really like what Ichinojo did, he's in Juryo. If they feel like Ichinojo made them look bad, but at least he's playing by the rules, he stays in the top division, and that'll be the tell. The smart money, I feel like, is that he'll be 17. Or no, he'll be 16 East, 16 West.
That's what I'm guessing. But it does depend also on who's in Juryo and how they do.
Yeah.
And how the bottom looks. Like, he is a little bit at the mercy of how everybody else does. Because he can't control anything about his destiny.
He's on a bench. I mean, maybe, even if it's unpaid, time off is still time off. Maybe this will help him. Maybe resolving the scandal will help him with things. Now, also, just... somebody with any sort of an alcohol abuse issue is a very serious deal. And
yes.
It's its own side thing. And I am concerned that somebody like Ichinojo may not be able to get the help he needs. But that goes into an entirely different conversation.
Right. Like, do you go into a rehab situation while you're suspended?
That's a lot of stuff that, like, now it's not just, that's complicated in a situation where asking for help isn't a problem.
Exactly.
Because that's a whole, I'm not going to get into it, but that's a deep hole of, like, once I heard that it was an alcohol related issue, I'm like, oh boy.
And, it does, we were talking about this a little bit in the last tournament, but now that it's been a confirmed thing, it does finally answer the question of why sometimes he's Snorlax and sometimes
it does. It retroactively makes a lot of things track.
Makes so much sense. It answers the big question that everyone has always asked.
So,
I mean, it could be New Year, New Ichinojo.
I hope.
Blessing in disguise.
I like, Sumo aside, I hope Ichinojo gets the help he needs. Like, just, if he comes to us and he says, I'm gonna get rehab, I'm gonna clean up my life, but I need to retire Sumo, I'm like, God bless you.
Right.
Take care of yourself, Ichinojo.
Right. At the end of the day, we want you to live.
We want you to be happy, man.
Yeah.
You've done so much for us.
Right. There's something outside of Sumo at the end of the day. Yeah.
But in any case, not in January, probably low down in March, Ichinojo, I hope
you're still in the 42 opinions.
I hope you're still in the 42 opinions. I hope you can get some help.
Yeah. So, next we have Ura, Maegashira 7 West, down from Maegashira 3 East, 4-11. This has happened to him before.
Happened from before.
There is a ceiling for him. It gets so high, and it's like... So, it's not the worst tumble.
Yeah. I was thinking a lot about this, and about how, like, he has the same problem that a few other people do, like Hokutofuji, like other people they have their own ceiling.
Yeah.
Like, there's sort of there's the ranking ceilings, like the Sanyaku, the Ozeki, the things that are these massive hurdles. But then some other people, like, where that ceiling is for them is not on the charts. It's an imaginary line somewhere that they just can't breach. So for Hokutofuji, like, I want him to have the best, to have everything. So, like, when he hits the ceiling, like, it's stressful. Mm-hmm. But for I'm looking at it, I'm like, I don't know if I have aspirations of greatness for him, really. I just have aspirations of him fighting. So wherever he is, I'll enjoy it.
Well, there's two parts for that. One being that Ura spent all that time in Juryo, and lower than that, because he had the injury and got knocked out. So it's even sort of a small miracle that he's even back at all. But two, he presents that same attitude.
Yes.
He's not somebody, when he does interviews, he says, I'm here because of luck. I'm here because, I'm kind of crazy and sometimes it works. He doesn't seem to have the attitude of, I need to be Ozeki. He is just a grateful person that he didn't have to stay all the way back.
It was a weird, like, I almost felt guilty because I'm like, why am I not wishing the best for Ura? But it's like you said, it's because that's Ura's mindset. So really, I'm just matching expectations.
Exactly.
And so I guess what makes it like a net positive is that you look at the 4-11, you're just like,
not the worst.
Yeah. It's just like, but like, some part of me is always just like, come on, Ura, you can.
Oh yeah, you want to see him perform.
I don't know where this lies. I got into this weird moral quandary with myself, and then I was just like, just do sumo, dude. Settle down. You don't need to call up Aristotle from the grave to figure this one out.
But at Maegashira 7 West, I mean, that's a more comfortable position for a fighter like him.
Definitely, he's in a place to rebound, if nothing else.
Right. It's good sometimes for these guys to be in states where they can beat people, because then you can see the best of their sumo. Yeah. They don't get injured. just everything kind of comes together in a positive way. And because we're not looking at Ura as Ozeki contender, just getting 8 and 7s is good enough.
Yeah, I guess.
Even for him.
Yeah. So like it is a weird, there's not a lot of people like this.
No, there's not.
It's like there's Ura, like maybe Tamawashi, definitely Tochinoshin.
Yeah.
There's some people that you're just like, it's just like,
just keep fighting.
Just keep fighting. You know, win or lose. Like, not that you don't care, but at the same time, you're sort of just
you can't put your expectations too high.
You can't. And yeah, for somebody like Ura, like it does seem self-evident that you're just like, you do the weird throwing shoulder throw
every
thing.
once in a while we'll give you a Yokozuna to fight, because it's fun, or you fight Tobizaru and it's two bendy guys just bending all around the ring and not falling out.
But I mean, this goes back to something that we often say about how there's all different types of people in sumo.
Yes.
So there's a little bit of everything for everybody where you got to go find it.
He's sort of the entertainer.
Yes.
You know, and what would be nice is if we got to see Enho ever come back and just Enho Ura. Oh man. Those matches are probably pretty epic.
If Enho, if November wasn't a flash in the pan for Enho, and it was the start of a trend, he might be back in March.
That would be nice, especially because we lost Ishihara. That was so sad.
So I'm not. I mean, Enho's looks to be a career Jiryo, so it's up to him to buck that trend, and that's my expectation.
Yeah.
Until I see him on this printout in front of us.
Exactly.
Which I do really, really want, but I'm not gonna say that.
You don't want to go there.
I'm not gonna say it. I'm not gonna put it to words. I'm just gonna think it, and it's not gonna enter the karmic universe at all.
I understand. That is the safest way to do this.
It's a safe way to do it. Don't inject.
Exactly. Next we have Onosho, Maegashira 8 East, up from Maegashira 11 East, 9 and 6. He's trying to right the ship, but we have the same thing. We have a consistency issue where it'd be nice to say, yay, Onosho's back, but is Onosho back?
I while looking into his pattern, like I dug him up. We'll see if the computer wants to cooperate. Maybe not. Oh, it did. So
the mouse works. It's the keyboard that's being a jerk.
So I came to a revelation, which is, and this is why we're so fighting for Onosho and why he just gets under our skin. He has never had a back-to-back Kachikoshi.
Wow.
In 3 years.
Wow.
And when he was doing the back-to-back Kachikoshi is when he first joined the top division.
Interesting.
So he comes out of the gate, Hakuho Cup winner, new guy. Is this the new star of sumo? Wins, and then loses. And then wins, and then loses, and then wins, and then loses, and then wins, and then loses. So every time he gets a Kachikoshi, sometimes looking really good. Mm-hmm. Here's a 10 and 5 all the way at the bottom, the 9 and 6. And then, no. And then, I think this is COVID or injury going on here. He's like 10 and 5, 5 and 10, 10 and 5, 7 and 8, 7 and 8.
Wow.
Then he gets this stuff going. So Onosho has been pinballing, pogo sticking, ping-ponging, I don't know, yo-yoing. Figure out your favorite metaphor for going up and down all over the place. If Onosho gets 8 and 7, he has broken that curse.
Interesting.
He has bucked the trend. So that is all Onosho needs to do is win 8 times.
Wow.
And if he doesn't, then that's his problem.
He should be able to do it at Maegashira 8 East, but once again...
Yeah, I mean, what we had said here when he was at 7, it was like, you should be fine. And then he gets a 5 and 10. And so that was the secret thing.
Yeah.
That I personally, I mean, maybe people already knew it, but it's just, that was the thing I knew.
That's not something that I had
pegged.
Yeah, it's something you'd have to actually be paying attention to.
I was not paying attention to it. So, yes.
Interesting.
So this is his opportunity. And like you said, at Maegashira 8 West, it's low enough that it's not out of his reach. But is he consistent? Is he able to get it, string it together? That's his opportunity. Because if he can do that back-to-back, that's momentum.
Well, it's interesting because at least it's something very concrete to work on.
Yes.
You know, everybody, they have these like missing pieces or missing elements. With Onosho, it's like, just get it 8 wins.
8 wins. Figure it out.
So this is how you're going to start getting it back together.
So.
Interesting. So we go from Onosho to Oho, Maegashira 8 West, giant leap from Maegashira 13 West with his 10-5, was in the Yusho till the very end. Epic match with Hoshoryu.
Crazy.
Dark
horse.
Probably was the reason Hoshoryu fell out, was the loss to Oho, because it just killed his momentum. So not only did Oho throw himself in a position to be in the cup contention, he also affected the final outcome. This is all you could hope for.
So he's in a really interesting place, because up until now, there was a struggle. There was couldn't keep it together. Multiple scenarios of losing 5 days in a row on the final week to go from 7-3 to 7-8.
Yep.
Painful, obviously struggling, and now he has this breakout moment. So the big question mark is, did he figure it out, or did he just have a really good time of it once and still hasn't gotten there yet? And now here's the problem, is that everybody's going to be looking at Oho, and they'll be like, this guy is he's gonna knock.
Right, they're gonna look differently at him.
They're gonna give him a different look now. They're like, okay, this guy's serious. Now we gotta knock him down. And now that he's higher up than he was before, he's gonna have to contend with some real serious, as he says. Now the real serious stuff comes.
Exactly.
And I, for one, have no bearing, no clue at all how this is gonna turn out.
Yeah, because we haven't been in this position before. This is his first moment showing us a breakout performance. And like I said in that Sumo Primetime interview, he was very meek. It surprised me. He basically said, yeah, the Tachi is just so much more aggressive. So he's pinpointing where his losses have been. They're on the Tachi. Once the Tachi happens, if he's got the advantage, there's a lot of things he can do. Let's hope that he's learned how to translate this last performance into a consecutive streak of something.
That's what we all want for Oho,
especially
obviously.
With Maegashira 8 West. Once again, here's a guy in a position that is a decent position to try out your stuff where you're not dealing with the top of the top. And he just dealt with the top of the top.
In a way, he did.
Yeah, because they made him fight the top guys.
They threw him to the wolves like you do if you're on a 9-win winning streak.
So maybe his training was like extra tough after November. Maybe he's found like that inner.
Could be the spark.
Yes.
Or the House of Cards falls down, and I cannot. You flip a coin.
We don't want another one of these.
We don't want to. Wait, what will happen? I will have to watch.
Right.
There's no way for me to guess this.
Yeah, there's no guessing because we haven't had 2 tournaments in a row yet. You know, you can't call something a trend until it's actually happened.
To draw a line, you need 2 points.
Exactly. So next we have Takanosho, the man who was severely fallen from grace. He maintains his Maegashira 9 East record with a 7-8. How far he has fallen from his former glory.
It feels like there's something more than injuries going on. Now, if these are like the kind of injuries that you need to sit out in order to deal with, and he's doing...
Or get surgery or something.
Like, if this is like the Midorifuji hernia thing again, then there's no hope.
Right, if you're not going to get the surgery.
Or, maybe he's having some sort of internal struggle. Maybe there's something going on with him that he can't deal with and it's getting away with the sumo.
Yeah.
And that like something has...
Something broke.
Something broke with him. Literally, figuratively, spiritually. And it's concerning because he clearly does not belong here, but is not putting out the results to prove it.
Exactly. And if you can't put out the results, you're going to stay in a rank that doesn't fit you at all.
Or get worse.
You can become a Juryo man. I mean, if he has some... 4-11 record here.
It's bad. I don't know.
Shouldn't, but
he shouldn't.
We don't know what the problem is.
Yeah. If people know. If people got some inside track.
Yeah.
Write it down.
Yeah. Is there something on Japanese Twitter that we don't know about? Put it in the comment section if you know what happened to Takanosho. I know my guy Daniel knows like everything. So Daniel, I'm asking you as you're listening to this, please do some research and tell us in the comment section what's going on with Takanosho.
If you know. If you want. If you know, feel like sharing. Yeah, but I'm hoping. So I go into there. I'm like, what are you gonna see?
Yeah.
Like for Oho, it's exciting. It's interesting. For him, it's almost like, it's just like we're gonna are we gonna see him triumphant, or are we gonna have to drive down to the morgue to identify the body?
I know,
Oh, God.
and I never expected to see this happen with him.
Him of all people.
I know, it's really sad too. It's like a Tomokaze kind of situation where you're like, oh, there was so much potential. So we're gonna now go down to someone else whom there's more disappointments than
these days.
Yeah, unfortunately, he's definitely at the end of his sparkle.
Yeah.
Endo, Maegashira 9 West, down for Maegashira 7 East, 6 and 9. Every time you get a little bit of exciting Endo Sumo, because Endo Sumo is exciting, he falls out like this. His sumo doesn't translate into wins.
It doesn't. So this is for Endo. This guy is I feel like he needs to embody the new year, new him.
Yes.
Or for us, it's a new year clean slate, and we just forget the success, we forget the failure. You know, like the fade we put aside, the same as him beating Terunofuji. We just take all that, we put it in a box labeled sometime in the past.
Exactly.
And from this point forward, we're like, okay, this is now.
Who's this guy?
Who's this guy? This new. Oh, I don't remember him.
Endo. Oh,
is he coming in from Juryo? This is a different person to me. Like that's
exactly.
This is now my mindset. So I'm like, Endo, win me back.
Yeah, because he's just too talented. It's kind of like the Takanosho thing.
Yeah.
Wow. Again, the pairs again.
They're all over the place.
Because it's just, now I do know that Endo has a persistent injury.
Yes.
However, there's just, once again, is it the injury, or there's just something missing from him that's been missing for a while? Maybe it's always been the injury. That he's too good of a fighter to be where he's at. He should at least win a Yusho.
Feels like something. There's still something left in there. But for now, I'm gonna walk into January and I'm gonna be like, okay, Endo, what you got?
Exactly. Always a fresh look. Like, oh, Endo's gonna fight today.
Okay, yeah,
it's gonna be a good match.
We're gonna see. I'm gonna be detached but optimistic, and we're gonna see what he has for us. That's my take.
You know, it could be one of those things where he's fighting Takakeisho week 2, wins on the edge. You know,
he's beaten Takakeisho.
Oh, many times.
So
yes. So next we have your boy. I'll let you do most of the talking on him. Aoiyama, Maegashira 10 East. Maintains rank 7 and 8, but maintains rank. It's dicey every time we see him.
Yeah. Well, for now, it's a holding pattern because the stuff that we said about him going into November will just now apply here, which is he's on a fade. He hasn't sparked yet. March tends to be a spark, but he sparked I think in May or July this year, so a little bit later. He'll always have that one show that he wakes up and then he just goes back to sleep.
Gets an 11-4.
And he gets an 11-4. He does really, really well. So we're not quite there yet, but it's in the cards. And so for the time being, him and Tochinoshin have a very similar, just don't lose too much.
Stay in the top
division. Let's hold on to you for as long as we can. And so for him, anything that's not double-digit losses, he's fine. Right. So 6 and 9 or better. It's all we can really ask.
Definitely think his back is an issue again.
There's been, some of his losses have been a little concerning as of late. Definitely a little bit more kaisei, and you're missing more than you can afford to miss.
Yeah.
But get that spark. Get just back in it.
Can I just say that the kaisei segment in Sumo Primetime was
so
my
good.
favorite of all time. I mean, kaisei has got such a great personality.
He was hanging out. He was chill. He was cracking jokes.
I love it. I loved that.
Yeah. And
so
Aoiyama, Japanese citizen. So
yep, he's gonna stick around.
So that's the positive note on all of this, is that we'll have Aoiyama on Sumo Primetime.
I can't wait.
It's in a way like it is. It's sort of like you're just waiting for the next phase for some of these people.
Right. You get to have a little bit more of them in a way when they retire, because how many times do they give an interview while they're active wrestlers?
I think I saw Yoshikaze in the background on one of the videos. I'm just like, he's still there.
Exactly.
It's all happy at that point. The sadness is past.
Right. You go through. It's almost like the process of death.
Yeah.
You go through this holding on for dear life, holding on, then it ends. And then you go on to the next thing.
You go on to the next thing.
And everybody's all smiles and they're excited because they're not beating their bodies up to death. And now they can just talk and and put other people through the gauntlet.
Everybody looks good in that blue track jacket.
They do.
They fill it out well.
Hakuho especially.
Yes.
It suits him.
Looks good. Hakuho's been showing up on the prime time too.
He
I
has.
like that. They go to him for a few things.
We get to see their personalities now versus match day where it's just like
yeah. They're sort of their personalities are a little bit more. If nothing else, they're almost always consistently more relaxed, more just enjoying the day.
You can ask them a question and they're going to give you an actual answer instead of it's my brand of sumo.
Yeah. So that's so. I don't want that for Aoiyama yet, but
we're not ready yet.
I'm not ready yet, but I feel like there are moments of seeing the pattern. I'm like, I can prepare myself for that.
Yes, you see that it's not all doom and gloom.
It's not all doom and gloom.
So next we have Hiradoumi. This is the one that's so hard to say. Maegashira 10 West, up from Maegashira 16 West, 10-5, was in the Yusho contention. Well, he was in numbers within Yusho contention. He went from being the guy that was kind of getting dogged on to...
So him and Terunofuji were both given that we should be dumping you down.
But we're giving you one more chance.
You one more chance. And this is how Hiradoumi responded to that. And so what's going to be fun is he's lagging behind. So like we had mentioned before with Midorifuji about he's the rising star. Mm-hmm. And to an extent, Ryuden is also making a push up. And then we have Abi. So all these people have they're at different stages of the rising star process. And so here's Hiradoumi all the way in the back, sort of, he's the furthest one down who's making this upward push.
Yes.
And it's always fun to see them at different stages and then sort of see
where they're going to burn out.
Where they're going to burn out. So Hiradoumi is now officially on we've lit the spark, and he's a step behind Oho.
He is. What's interesting is, so I had chosen Hiradoumi for my fantasy sumo, nice. and Oho was crushing him. But by the end, they wound up with the same record, so it was not a bad choice to pick Hiradoumi instead of Oho.
It's the same points.
So, like what you were saying, they're kind of having the same thing.
So yeah, it's
the
fun.
gravity of the matches was different, but
yeah. So I am latching on to Hiradoumi's very energetic type of sumo.
Yeah, I'm hoping it's contagious. Like he felt the success of the 10-5, and now he takes that and he goes up instead of.
It feels like he just takes whatever he can and then he runs. Mm-hmm. You have those sports. You have those trivia. No, not trivia. Like sweepstakes, like game shows.
Yes.
And they're sort of just like they let you loose in Walmart, and then you have like 5 minutes.
To get everything
you put in the cart, and then if you get out the door, you get everything in the cart. Mm-hmm. Like I feel like that's Hiradoumi's mindset.
Yeah, I can see that.
He's just running to. He's just like, hang on, I gotta go to the phones, and then he runs over. He's like, I need a new plasma TV. Oh, but it won't fit in the cart, and he's just figuring it out as he goes.
And then he just gets out the door with like 0.1 second to spare.
0.1 second, and then he's just like,
I win.
That's the energy I'm getting from him. So I'm very excited to see where he goes.
Next, we have Chiyoshoma, Maegashira 11 East, down from Maegashira 10 West, 7-8. He was toying around with the upper division, or with the upper ranks of Maegashira, and now he's sort of coming back down to earth.
So, yeah, this time a year ago, he was Maegashira 5, and then that started the fade down. I'm not going to say go back down to reality because I feel like he earned his...
He did.
He earned his gimmicks. But now it looks like this is sort of where he's more consistently showing performance.
He might need to bring those Hankas back. I don't know.
I know. It's funny.
It's coming from me, funny. But...
Yeah. So I personally would love for the wily veteran Fox to make another break for it.
Yeah.
For the time being, I feel like if he's able to maintain consistency, again, consistency being something that some people have so much trouble with.
Just an 8 and 7.
Get an 8 and 7, a 9 and 6, even a 7 and 8 if you really can't pass muster.
Right, because you won't fall too far.
You won't fall too far. If he can settle in, if he can sort of rebuild himself a little bit.
He's somebody that I just feel like would take some energy from the new year.
I can see that.
He just seems like the type that would like go to the temple, make his wish, and come back and put himself right back in Maegashira 5.
Double-digit wins, and we're just like, whoa.
Yeah, I could see that for him. I don't know that it would be consistent, but I could see like one awesome tournament for him.
I'm hopeful for that.
I think he's got it in the tank.
He does. Yeah, I do. I feel like there's still more to the Chiyoshoma story.
Yeah, it doesn't feel like Aoiyama where we're picturing the track jacket.
No, not even close to that.
No. It's like, okay, so he's still got some more things to show us. Let's see what happens.
See what we got.
So next we have Tochinoshin, who probably won't be wearing a track jacket because I think he's going back to Georgia.
Yeah.
But we can start to foresee the track jacket metaphorically.
Yes.
He is back down in Maegashira 11 West, 6 and 9. He's benefited a lot from the rankings committee.
Giving him some slack.
Cutting him a lot of slack, which I'm not going to complain about because the minute he goes to Juryo, I'm pretty sure he's done. I don't think he wants to play that game.
Well, if he loses Sal, like if he falls out of Juryo, definitely done.
Definitely. That's what happened to Kaisei.
Yeah, when he goes down to Juryo, he might stick around a little bit. I could see him.
It would depend on where. Like if he went to Juryo anywhere between 1 and 4, he might stick around.
Stick around just so you can get back.
But if he wound up in Juryo 10, I could see just as easily I'm done.
I could see that, yeah. So this has also been a pattern. This is the optimism coming back, where he does a slide. We get concerned. We're like, oh no, is this the end? And then he sort of shakes it all off and goes and surges forward again.
Exactly.
Now, every time you go on a slide, it's a little harder to start that engine back up. But I will say that if we see him slide for the next 1 to 2 tournaments, that don't get too worried yet, because there's always that chance he pulls himself back together.
Now that's assuming that he can always maintain 6 and 9, 7 and 8.
Yeah, no collapses.
If at any time we wind up with a Terunofuji, then he's done.
He's done at that point. Yeah, there's no saving him from that.
What he's got on his side is that he's just so strong. It's really hard to beat him every single time.
He's just the power is going to be there for as long as he can physically enter the dojo.
Right, like his legs may not work, but his upper body is like terrifying. So it's like sometimes he just gets you and you're out of luck.
You're out of it. Sorry, got the clamp.
So we will see. He's just kind of in the same spot he's been in for the last couple years, so nothing to worry about yet.
Nothing yet. Just the start of the worry, but don't let it consume you.
Yes, there's far more people to be concerned about than Tochinoshin. Next, we have Kagayaki, Maegashira 12 East, up from Maegashira 15 East, 9 and 6. This is the first time we've seen some real life out of Kagayaki in a while.
I am very optimistic. I'll say I'm irrationally optimistic, particularly because of the way that Kagayaki's slow fade out showed no sign of anything, and now he's showing us like a little bit of something. I'm just like, ooh.
Right, it's like it felt a little bit out of left field.
Yeah. So January for me is going to be like sort of the level check. Mm-hmm. So if he does more of that 9 and 6 type of sumo, then I'm like, okay, I can be optimistic and not worried about being dumb about it. But if it's the reality check, then we'll be like, okay, now I know not to get too emotionally invested in Kagayaki until he finishes whatever he started. And that's the takeaway. Win, lose, or draw, he's clearly working on something like we were hoping he would.
Right. He started the process of either fixing something or energizing something, or maybe just he's had enough time to heal mentally, physically, whatever was going on. Now we have to see if there's more to come or if it was just like one good tournament.
One good tournament. And everybody has one bad tournament. Some people have one good tournament.
Right.
It goes both ways. We're going to find out. So I'm going to go in very hopeful for Kagayaki to do something good and then show that trend, that pattern, like we said. You need 2 points to make a straight line.
Well, I mean, the other point might be Ryuden. They're both on the upswing when they were both on the downswing.
They could be feeding each other energy. That's always a factor. That's also part of why I'm like, it doesn't feel like it's a blind optimism, but it's not I don't feel like I have enough backing to really call it something positive. I can put money on.
Exactly.
I want to bet on Kagayaki.
It's still a bit too abstract.
So January is going to tell me where my money goes for him.
Exactly. Next we have Okinoumi, Maegashira 12 West, up from Maegashira 13 East, 8 and 7. A struggle to get the 8 and 7, but at least he's not going to be knocked out.
Moving in the right direction.
Yes.
Stemming the bleeding. They still track jackets. We're talking about him. Okinoumi is a track jacket contender right now.
He definitely is.
The way he's fighting, the way it's just not coming together. It's.
Well, I mean, if you look at the way that Chiyotaru retired, there wasn't like Kaisei, it was obvious. He faded into a position where it's like, I'm not gonna. Chiyotaru just like quit in the middle of the tournament.
I still can't process that on some level.
Yeah, it was just like, wow. And not only did he quit, but he's like, I'm not even going to stay in sumo. I don't even care.
I do, I feel like there was something. And they had mentioned that, he was considering retiring last tournament, and then they basically...
Somebody forced him into it.
Somebody just coaxed him back in. And so, he sort of had his foot in the grave the whole time. And then there was that... There is, I think everybody can relate to that moment that, there's the straw that breaks the camel's back.
Yep.
And then you sort of like, oh.
I don't want to do this tomorrow.
I'm done. Mm-hmm. And then he just walked away. And again, like we said, any sort of combat sport, if you don't want to be there, get out.
Yeah.
So that's the right choice to make. But I feel like going back to Okinoumi, somebody like him will fight to the bitter end, and that's usually what happens in sumo, which is what makes Chiyotaru's case so interesting.
Yes, I can see Okinoumi. There should be a path for us to see. So let's say this tournament he gets a 4-11, drops into Jurio, we might have to be concerned. If he maintains an 8-7, then we're just still in this holding pattern of, one day he might just say, I want to go out on top. Sometimes that's the choice too.
That's true.
Sometimes you don't want to go out just because you ended. Most time though, it's when you're falling.
Yeah,
so.
But Okinoumi has a chance to further stem the bleeding, make a rally, pull something out. He's got his opportunity in January to buck the trend.
Yes.
That's what we can hope for. It's the best we got.
Exactly. Next, we have Koto Shoho, Maegashira 13 East, down from Maegashira 11 West, with a 7 and 8. So the rankings committee sent a message with that one.
Yeah. So he's had a struggle for a long time. Him and Kotonowaka almost have identical notes, in that they both have a 7 and 8. And what's interesting is you look at Ichiyamamoto and Azumaru below them; they both also had 7 and 8. But they kept their rank. And there's a couple other people who had 7 and 8 and kept their rank. These two guys, you get a 7 and 8. We don't just knock you down. We don't just knock you down a half a rung. We knock you down a little bit further. It's a we're running out of patience with you demotion.
Right, you better get it together or you're done.
So, and the both of them, they have sort of different spins on the same problem, which is weird because Kotonowaka is just kicking heads at the top of the division, seeming to have no problem. These guys have all the problems for him.
Yeah.
And, I mean, Koto Shoko still has not looked as good as he did since before he went down in the Jurio.
No, something has gone wrong for him. It could be an injury, but I definitely think there's a mental component.
There's a mental component.
He's just not living up to the stress of the whole thing.
He's not. So what will be interesting is if/when Koto Tebakari comes into the picture. Is that going to motivate him, or is that going to be a death knell?
Yeah, exactly.
If he's having strain issues, mental issues, and he's seeing his little brother just
zooming up the ranks.
Zooming up.
Yeah.
Everybody's talking him up. They're not talking about him anymore.
Right. It can go one of two ways. It can either be like, I'm going to show everybody, or it could be like, I just suck. And Koto Shoho, he's got some ER in him.
It's a little bit.
The guy reminds me of Shodai a little bit.
Yeah, it's not that energy you want.
No.
So,
you gotta ditch that energy.
New year, new Koto Shoho. Let's go. Wipe it off. Who cares what those bums say about your possibly better than you brother? Let's go.
Exactly.
Let's go.
Exactly.
Show him what you got.
Forget about 2022.
Who's in the top division now?
Exactly.
We need that energy.
Don't be thinking about him.
Don't be thinking about him. No, go get a cup or something like that.
Next, we have Koto Echo, Maegashira 13 West, down from Maegashira 12 East, 7 and 8, similar to Koto Shoho. You can only struggle for so long before, the bottom's going to fall out.
Bottom's going to hit. He's running out, and it is it's so weird because he's
a weird one.
He is the guy. So you have somebody like Meisei who puts the work in, busts his ass, and then just shoots up. He's busting his ass and losing.
Exactly. It doesn't make sense.
It's like, come on, what's with this script?
Yeah.
It's not believable. Send it back.
Exactly. It almost feels like just something that isn't real.
It doesn't. And so there's And so like you go to somebody who's clearly trying his best, who's putting in the work, who's working so hard, and you're like, you need to do something different.
Right. And it's like, well, how can I do any more than I'm doing?
What is there to do that I'm not doing? I am, there is no stone unturned, it feels like, for this guy.
Yeah. And like, there's sometimes where he looks like, he looks like a very good specimen of a sumo wrestler. And then there's times where it's like, you're a sumo wrestler?
Yeah. It's so weird to have that extreme.
Yes.
So it is. Like, he'll have like these crazy ring edge reversal wins. I think he had like 3 of them. He has the crazy, crazy matches with Tochinoshin where he's running the guy around. He's gotten these good grip, out-muscling people twice his size, and then still gets a 7 and 8. You're like, what?
Yeah, you're surprised at the end. Like, wait, why didn't that work out?
What happened?
Yeah, something is very fishy in the Koto Echo world, and I'm not sure what it is. So, next we have Ichiyamamoto. Myogiryu 14 East maintains the same record, 7 and 8. He did have that really bad scare.
Not heard anything about this. I feel like
no news is good news.
Yes.
Yes.
Like this is around the time where they're like, oh, this guy's injured. He's not going to be in it. So I mean, it's going to be for me. This is going to be a very, very tense week. And I don't want to hear anything about Ichiyamamoto. I don't want his name on anyone's lips.
Radio silence.
I don't want you to interview him. I don't want you to talk about him. Take Ichiyamamoto. Like it's one of those like. We need like the witness protection program.
Yeah.
That we just like we usher him off into the countryside. We change his name and he's just off the radar for a week and doing sumo. That's what I want for him. Now he still has the larger issues of that second week fade, which like you had mentioned before, Oho's interview did seem to cast a different light on that second week fade that these people are younger or fresh or getting banged up. And so, but like more of the don't talk about his knee, have his knee be perfectly fine, and then like it was just like an overextension.
Yeah,
and fine. But like the way that knee, like I had Tomokaze flashbacks when I saw that, and I'm like no.
Yeah, well, we were ready to be like mad at him because he was underperforming. Yeah. And then the knee happens, and you're like, forget it. I forgive you. I forgive you. Just come back. No, not another one.
It's exactly what it is. It is that, like, the daughter's acting up, and then the daughter falls down the stairs. You're just like, I'm sorry, I love you.
Exactly.
You're not grounded. Have cookies all you want.
Exactly. It's like, I don't care that you just disrespected me. Are you okay? Yeah. Injuries are always just devastating.
So, in March we'll go back to being mad, but Ichiyamamoto just come back to us.
Exactly. Like, come back, be 100%, and then we'll yell at you in March.
We'll yell at you later.
So next we have Azumaryu. Once again, these pairs working great. Myogiryu 14 West maintains the rank, 7 and 8. So, I mean, he's a veteran. I mean, he's been around. He's, popping up and down from Juryo.
The rest of the Banzuke are all just old veterans hacking it out here at the bottom.
Not ready to give up sumo yet.
So this is going to be normally, like, it's a mix. Like, you have some new people, you have some old people. And
not this time.
This time, like, just you get like Azumaryu, Mitoryu, Chiyomaru, Takanosho, a little bit there, but Tsurugisho, all 5 of these guys are just like, are you going to be in Juryo? Are you going to stay in the top division?
Right. There's no like, oh, it's the new guy. Let's see how good he does.
So, it's going to be fun to sort of like we have a basho off from some new young and hopeful, and then we just get these guys just pulling tricks out of their belt.
Right.
It's going to be fun. So for Azumaryu, his goal, I think the record is if he can get 3 bashos consecutively in the top division, that's his record.
Okay.
So, he's never been able to hold on to it, ever.
Right.
He always falls off.
They thought this time he was going to do it, and then he just falls off at the end.
So, the 7 and 8, I feel like somebody else feels the same way that I do. I want Azumaryu to get that fourth consecutive appearance in the top division. So, they gave him the 7 and 8, and we're just like, we're keeping you there. We're keeping you there. Come on.
We're going to let you do it.
We won't let you, don't you die on me. And, he's got fun sumo. He's got, like, the face of the veteran sumo. Like, you look at him and you're like, oh, clearly he's been doing this for 10 years.
Yes.
He's got that look, the feel, like, the sense. I love his defensive sumo. So, like, I'm going to Azumaryu and I'm just like, come on.
You could do it.
But in a way, I'm feeling that way. Like, why I'm bringing this up for Azumarill, like, if you look at all of these guys, like, it is a similar vibe.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you don't want any of them to go down. Like, you want them all to, like, keep fighting and to give you that older veteran sumo spirit.
Well, particularly because now we're starting to become, like, veteran watchers ourselves. Not quite, but, like, we're not the newbies anymore. No. And we came up watching some of these guys when they were in a much better position. Like, when Tochinoshin was more like, you know, Nishikifuji or something, you know, just maintaining that middle spot. And now we're just watching these guys that were our firsts, like, headed for track jackets.
Mm.
So, yeah, we'll have to see what happens with Azumarill. I think he can get that first Kachikoshi.
I want it. He's got it. Well, it's the longevity.
Yeah.
So, like, he's been, I think again, 3 consecutive is what he's done historically. So if you can get that 4th one, I think if he makes it to June.
Goals.
Yep. Yeah, I want it for him. But it is one of those one basho at a time, one day at a time goals, because, like, it could fall apart anytime.
It could fall apart when you're this low, too. Like, just one misstep and it's already over again. Which Tsurugisho would know a lot about that.
Yes.
He's back up from Juryo 3 East to Myogiryu 15 East. He had a 10 and 5. The guy just keeps hanging on.
He dips down, he comes back up. He dips down, he comes back up. I did feel like there was some injury or something in
Definitely
September.
An injury, yep.
So, if you're healed and he's good to go, and again, it's like the same as Azumarill. It's just like, let's keep him. What can we do to keep him around?
Exactly.
And, like, you know, realistically, you're looking at this and you're just like, you know, somebody's going to have to be the weakest link. Goodbye.
Right, that's the problem.
I'm not going to choose any of these 5 guys. Come on, you don't make me do that.
Right, you're like, choose between, like, only one man will survive the pile.
No, I want them all. Make room.
Right.
Make room.
Make it, you know, give us a couple extra spots.
Yeah.
Myogiryu 20.
There it is.
Now, Midorifuji, is he a veteran or is he a younger guy?
He's a Juryo veteran, so he's an older guy.
That's right, okay.
So, for Midorifuji, like, so same thing happened with Tsurugisho, that he got knocked back down and then he got a good win. He comes back up, so he was just like, I'm done with Juryo. So for Midorifuji, he comes up like in September, like I think it was the first time he's in the top division, and he gets bullied.
Yeah,
they just slap him around. He looks scared and lost.
Looks like a Juryo man.
So then he goes down to Juryo, gets to 9 and 6. So, like, that has to be a massive mental win.
Yes.
That they kick him back down to Juryo. They made him look like he didn't belong in the top division. So he goes down into the Juryo, and then he counters them by saying, well, I don't belong here, so you're going to have to let me back in.
Exactly. And, you know, he's learned a lesson from this. There is what is he capable of? But this is like how we viewed Tobizaru at first, where it's like, Tobizaru was in Juryo forever. What is this imposter doing in the top division?
And there is this trend. Now, it doesn't stick for everybody. Mm-hmm. But, like, this was like with Nishikigi, that he was down in Juryo for a while, where it was like, oh, nice to know you. And then he comes back, and now it looks like he belongs here. Tobizaru, when he showed back up, we're like, what's this going on? And now he's fighting for Sanyaku.
Exactly.
So way too early to have these kinds of talks about Midorifuji, but, like, I'm looking at him now and I'm thinking there's a path to success here.
Right.
He just needs to
buckle down
and does not have people give him slushies and take his lunch money.
Well, especially with him where he is and all these veteran guys coming up, like, he should be able to. Well, here's the problem. I could say that for every single one of them. That's the problem, right? Like what you were saying, like Midorifuji, in theory, if he's the guy, he should be able to beat Tsurugisho, Azumarill, Takanoshin, Chiyomaru, probably Kotonowaka and Ichinojo. But I could say that about Tsurugisho. I could say that about Takanoshin. Maybe. Chiyomaru, maybe. So we'll have to see. We'll have to see what he comes up with. Which brings us to Takanoshin, who is on the danger list.
Yeah, there are alarm klaxon sounding. We've got the red swirling lights.
The chain is rattling. 3 and 12. He gets massively dumped from Myogiryu 8 East to 16 East. This is kind of what I was talking about with Tochinoshin. Takanoshin went from a relatively safe place to almost out of the top division with one tournament.
I feel like someone else in his position, like, this is what
would have been out.
That's what happened to Shimano Umi.
Yeah.
They have him out.
Yep.
Do you know why? Because his stable master wasn't in charge of the rankings committee.
Fair point. So going forward, I don't think Takafuji will get such preferential treatment.
Which doesn't make this any better, does it?
No, it really doesn't, because I do like all the Fujis.
So really, this for Takafuji, he needs to do something, anything for the love of Pete.
Yeah, it's been going down steadily now. There's no ping-ponging anymore.
Yeah.
It's downhill.
Or you're just like, okay, whatever you need to do, you need to get it done. And he's there's at this point also there's no excuse. How is he going to lose to half the people on this screen right now?
Right, he shouldn't.
Oh.
Like, he, in theory, should be the guy that beats every single one of these guys.
He should.
But we don't know. I mean, his body might be in a state where he can't.
I don't know. Whatever it is, the coulda, woulda, shoulda.
Mm-hmm.
At this point, it's if you want to be in the top division, you've got to do something.
Exactly.
And I don't like him being here.
No, this is
No.
He hasn't been in this danger spot in a while.
No.
And we never have the insight into what causes a guy to retire. So, we don't know why Takafuji's hanging on. We think it's Terunofuji.
Yeah, I do maintain that if Takafuji doesn't retire before Terunofuji does, I'm pretty sure that's like the next day.
Yeah.
Next day he hands those papers in.
So, speaking of which, we have Chiyomaru, Maegashira 16 West, up from Juryo 1 West, 8 and 7. He's not long for this world. He's been defying the odds by staying in all this time.
I saw him and I'm just like, hey, I'm
surprised.
I didn't think I'd see you again. Oh, it's a pleasure to see you.
I thought Chiyomaru would retire before Chiyotairyu.
I'd agree with that.
So it's kind of a nice welcome surprise that he's not only still in sumo, but back in the upper division again.
Upper division. Hey.
Like you said, Jolly Line Belt Sumo is back. Enjoy it while it lasts.
That's what it is. That's what we just. Oh, hey, look, we have a the park. The park has some free rides this weekend.
Exactly.
Let's go to the park.
Exactly.
Let's enjoy it while it's there.
Right.
You're just like, will there be? You don't ask. Are they going to have fun rides at the park next weekend? You're just like, let's go now. Let's go now. They're probably going to disassemble it all as soon as we leave.
Exactly, and that could be the case for Chiyomaru. I mean, every tournament you could be saying this is the last one.
This could be it. Enjoy it while it's there.
So, in typical fashion, we will talk a little bit about Juryo.
So
very close to getting the new guys.
So, let's look at some of these.
Uh-huh.
So, unfortunately for Tomifuji, he gets dumped down. I feel like he'll be back. Here's Hokuseiho, the protege of Miyagino Oyakata, known by a couple of people as Hakuho.
Yeah, I can't stop calling him Hakuho.
Oshoma, who was the Juryo winner from before.
Mm-hmm.
Also, here's Enho, making a go back.
Finally making a comeback.
And here is Kinbozan. So this is exciting.
There's a potential for the names we've been waiting for.
Yeah, these are the people who have been circulating in the sumo news.
Yep.
That are like, you're the next guy. Let's go give him a look. And so we're like, okay, so that's a good chunk. And we go down here and we see a certain somebody we haven't seen in a while.
Aha. Yes. He's finally able to come back into the conversation somewhat once he has reached Juryo. I don't know, though. I feel like, I don't know. I think the demotion actually hurt him really bad.
We are not going to see him probably until May. So he'll likely do fine.
He'll do fine, but I don't see him winning. I don't see him winning the Juryo championship.
Well, I think even if he wins it.
Oh yeah, he wouldn't come out.
Yeah. So let's give him a 10-5, right? So that puts him somewhere in here. He gets another 10-5, and he's in the top division again. Or he doesn't do as well, and they just put him here to spite him.
Ugh.
So, but now he's back in the conversation. Now, and they're doing a lot of prodigal son returns with Asanayama, the way they're talking him up, which I feel like, I was like, guys, do you remember remember what gave him the struggles in Ozeki to begin with?
This stuff that you were doing.
It was the anointed child talk. I'm like, guys, let him fight.
Not only that, he has all this crap he's dragging with him now. You demoted him very, very harshly, which we Debated that to death.
Yeah.
But you demoted him very harshly, and then his dad dies. And I think his coach died, too. So
He's
it's
had
like...
a bad time of it.
And he's already somebody that I always saw as the reason he wasn't a stronger Ozeki is he does seem a little soft internally. It's not fighting-wise. He seems like a more sensitive person than some of these. Like, I mean, you look at Takakeisho, and he just seems like somebody who has no emotion, just like, I'm a machine.
He's a rock.
Yeah, whereas Aoiyama seems a little bit more like he can be affected by things. So now you're going to throw all this pressure on him after you sabotaged him?
Yeah. So what I will say is we're going to see him earliest in May, possibly in July if he has a little bit of a time of it. And he might have a little bit of a time of it because people won't leave him the hell alone.
I know. They should just forget his name and let him do his thing.
Yeah, but that's not to be. By the way, here's Tsuyoshi.
That is the biggest drop. I'm shocked how far they dropped him. However, when you look at the Sumo video and he's in trouble and he's got an attitude, it looks like he ain't even getting a track jacket. Looks like he might just be out of sumo.
Yeah, so this is,
the bad boy of sumo that we hyped up so much might be the bad boy who just leaves the whole thing.
And then you bring that back into the context of the scandal. And you're like, yeah.
And they haven't identified who the guys were.
They were all lower rankers.
They were, here's the thing.
Say it.
Don't tell me Terunofuji didn't know about it.
Mm-hmm. Everybody knows.
Everybody knows
what's going on.
Even, like, I love Takanoshin. You tell me Takanoshin didn't know about it? You know, like, it makes your skin crawl a little bit.
Oh, guys.
Yeah, the thing that people never realize when they're in the middle of doing something wrong, it's never isolated. It affects every single person around you.
Yeah. So, well, I try not to dwell on this list too much. Pragmatically.
Right. It's just sort of like a preview.
Yeah, it's a preview. So, we want to...
Things to come.
For now, I feel like our energy is best spent on our 42 opinions.
Yes.
Rather than the 66 opinions.
There's just a lot of interesting things going on.
It does help to keep an eye on this list to see who's up and down, and also to see stuff like this. Hiradoumi having a drop of it. So, anyway, Juryo, the top 5 in Juryo looking very, very interesting for March.
Yes.
And that particularly plays into conversations we were having earlier about people down here and whether or not there's going to be room for people come.
It might be the situation where these guys are just holding the spot for the guys behind them.
Yeah.
We'll have to see. But we do have to do our predictions that we always fail on.
I'm going to throw mine right in the bin.
Okay.
Wakamotoharu.
Really?
I told you, this Kamusubi-ku dark horse,
yeah.
It is the darkest of horses.
He's the dark horse.
So if Meisei gets the Yusho, I'm going to call half credit on it. But I've been doing a lot of picking multiple people lately, and I've got to cut that out.
You got to just pick your guy.
Like that's not, you don't pick, you're just like, oh, I think it should be someone in Sanyaku. I'm like, I was self-reflecting while I was doing these notes. I'm just like, pick one person. You're going to make it. You're going to miss it, whether it's 1 or 10.
Exactly.
So Wakamotoharu gets the trophy and then goes over to Wakatakakage and says, step up your game.
That's a great pick, honestly. I'm looking at this and I'm like, okay. So the traditional pick is Takakeisho wins the Yusho because he's the top guy, defeats the demons, becomes Yokozuna. Don't think that's going to happen. I still think Wakatakakage is out of it. My gut says Hoshoryu, but it's like, I don't know if I'm ready to commit because those losses at the end of the tournament were very telling.
Very telling.
But I'm going to go with it. I'm going to say Hoshoryu is going to do it this time.
I had my eye on Hoshoryu too, but I
like your pick. Your pick is smart.
Again, this is as far out of left field as you can get. This guy has no business getting Kachikoshi, let alone it. But I'm like, that's the perfect moment.
But that's the thing. Haven't we been completely shocked every time? Like,
yes.
We have our eyes on Abi. Take our eyes off Abi, he wins.
Yeah.
I'm never picking Takayasu again. I can't do it.
Tamawashi, you're just like, he's we don't know.
And then he comes and wins.
It's just like, oh, he lost his record. He got the COVID out. Like this may be it for him. We may lose him. Wins the Yusho.
That's what I'm saying. Like, so now when I look at it, my predictions, I'm kind of like, okay, what's the out of left field pick? However, they have to actually have the talent.
Yes.
And because Abi, Takayasu, and Takakeisho were all in the final for November, it seems like it can be none of them.
None of them.
So it could be Hoshoryu, even though he's dancing on the line of being a part of it.
Being a part, just.
But the Wakamotoharu one is a nice pick.
It's a nice pick.
I like it. But I'm gonna go with Hoshoryu. It would be great if anybody who would like to participate would put in the comment section, who do you think is going to win the Yusho?
Who do you think? We want that.
We want some engagement in the comment section. It makes everything fun.
Here's the thing. Here's how this works. If 42 people all pick somebody different, somebody's guaranteed to get it right.
Yeah, we could do this. We have, 74 subscribers. So if at least 42 of you just put down the name of the guy you think.
Name of the guy. Or just play the odds.
Play the odds.
Play the odds. Look at it.
Pick Azumaru.
Yeah. Nobody's picking Endo, guys.
Nobody's picking.
That's the true dark pick. The 0% chance of success is 100% chance of success.
So, I mean, as time goes on, perhaps there are prizes for such outlandish wins.
Oh, man.
But for now, let's have fun. Anybody who wants to participate, put who you think's going to win in the comment section.
Oh, man. There was that train that came out of the end of November that it feels entering into the January.
It does. It's not like some years where like you almost felt like a story was closed up. It feels like the train is still going on. It doesn't care that the year has changed.
No.
Like momentum is strong for something wild.
There have been years that it's like beginning of January, just like, okay, fresh start. Where do we begin? Like here we're just like, oh, there's just so
feels
much.
Like a continuation.
It feels like we are just gonna careen through the winter.
Yeah. And I'm here for it. That's all I can say.
Absolutely great.
So thank you all for joining. This will be posted on Monday. And we'll have the live chat going, and then we'll have our live streams that have been very, very successful the last few tournaments. I love when you guys show up and we just talk sumo, so look forward to that as well. And happy sumo, happy New Year.
Happy New Year 2023 starts the 8th, a week from today.
Is it the 8th?
The 8th.
Okay.
January
January 8th.
Get ready for it.
Get ready.